drone sightings have been reported above critical infrastructure. He added that their presence appears nefarious in nature.
I don't know who could have possibly done this.
And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their home.
It's kind of unsettling. They're not up for 15 minutes, they're up for hours. Some are very big, probably the size of a car.
Mike Walsh says he's seen hundreds of them over the past 2 weeks from his Randolph backyard.
One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed time.
Woohoo!
What an intro.
What an intro. What a crazy, I don't even know what to call what the hell's going on right now. PSYOP.
Frenzy. It's
invasion. The beginning of a war.
It's all of it. Right? It's like TBD. It could be anything. Like the wheel is spinning and it could land on almost anything at this point. It's moving that fast.
Yeah, and every day it gets
laying the
weirder.
groundwork.
Yeah, definitely that. And yeah, so we're going to be covering the drone incursions into New Jersey. I do, Tim, like you were with me on my backup channel where we did covered some of this stuff. I do have some of the history stuff in there too. At first I wasn't going to leave it in, but then when I heard some of that stuff today, like Iran has a mothership and stuff, I was like, oh no, we got to bring in all the historical PSYOP stuff just to keep ourselves refreshed, because this feels so weird. But I don't know what they're setting up for, but this feels like super weird, does it not? Like, is this not one of the weirdest things like in a minute?
100%.
Yeah. What do you think, Tupa? What is this? Yeah, I don't even know. What do you think?
I went through the historical record of Twitter, and over the last 3 years, there have been big events like this pretty much every November, December, and January, and February. Like this little chunk, this quarter of the year is very popular. I mean, if you think back on the Chinese spy balloons, right? That was right around this time, 2023. And then right around this time last year, we had the Miami Mall, and there was so many more things that were kind of like extremely gassed up by not only the media, but definitely social media. And so we're having this thing right now, a month after a hearing. Let's just say that I'm skeptical. Very skeptical.
Something is wrong with my mic. Do I sound better now? I think I plugged it in a little bit. I did sound a little AI there.
Oh, you're sounding crispy right now.
Okay. Or maybe I think there might be an echo too, but you might have to just mute every time you're done. But yeah, but also too, but I think there's definitely like a weird like PSYOP vibe, but there's definitely something actually going on. Like it's very weird, very weird. So basically, yeah, this show we're gonna just run through basically all the main events that have been going on with this drone incursion over New Jersey. We got some crazy statements. We got congressmen saying that Iran has a mothership. We got people saying that the FBI saying they have no idea who this is. Did you guys see that? Like, and that's the other thing too. They're preparing the show is like intense because there's always breaking stuff. Like right before the show, did you see that one state senator who walked out of the that hearing and was like, they don't know anything, and he's like an Apache helicopter pilot and stuff. A lot of crazy stuff, dude.
That was an intense one.
Yeah, what's been some of the craziest stuff to each of you guys, and then we'll get into it.
Well, like what's some of the crazy stuff you said?
Yeah, like the past few, like with this whole whatever the hell's going on here, like what's been some of the like, well, that's kind of crazy, that's weird.
Well, I retweeted that one earlier today too, because I thought that one was at least more revealing, because we'll get into it, I'm sure. But he's talking about how there was at least a police, helicopter that had trailed one for a minute. They were above it, they said, and then they got away from it because they thought it was too dangerous. But he was more upset that they just didn't follow it or try to figure out where it's going. I think what's the hardest part about all of this is trying to figure out what is not he said, she said stuff, and like what is the true facts about what's happening here. Like, are there actually drones there, or is it people just making up seeing something in the sky?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? There's definitely a big trust me bro element to a lot of this stuff, but like the implications of some of this stuff are pretty big, dude. Like these drones, basically, because the other thing too, today the Pentagon said like they're not the US militaries and they're not any of our foreign adversaries. Like that was like this lady said that today. So yeah, I don't know, I guess we'll just get to it because there's kind of a fair amount to cover. Glad everyone's here in the chat. All right, let's just we got our little thing
or
going.
A plane. I have it.
Okay, so I thought we'd start here. This was last night. on a Twitter space, Kevin here, who the reason I included this, right, is because I've been covering the this whole thing pretty heavily on Twitter, and it's kind of we didn't even really talk about this. There's a lot of like planes and prosaic things being shown as drones, but there also seems to be actual drones, and I know Kevin, so and we were able to get his testimony last night, so I thought we'd just start with this with like somebody in Jersey. And then we also have Paul Vidal gets in there too. Two people from Jersey kind of talking about it before we kind of get into like the historical stuff that leads up to all this kind of stuff. Let's see.
Haven't seen one all night, but this thing was like hovering.
So yeah, this happened last night in South New Jersey with the resident there, and somebody who's a prominent member, or not prominent member, but like a usual regular member of UFO Twitter who I trust. Right, that's why I wanted to include it, because it's like, okay, I know this dude. It seemed like a genuine thing. He said it wasn't about. We'll just play now.
Above the ocean, and it was low, very low, but so bright and so clear, and it was huge. Like when you look at the video, someone said like it's a helicopter, but like if you think about the depth perception of like how far out that is, and when you see the tail of it, like if that was a helicopter, it would have been fucking like so big. And it definitely was not. I watched the thing for like 7 minutes. I was walking to dinner. I was on the boardwalk, and it was the only thing out above the ocean. And I filmed it. I walked with it. It was just hovering there.
Are you saying it was a helicopter?
No, I don't think it was. No, definitely.
No, but are you saying it was as big as a helicopter or bigger?
No, it was much bigger.
Much bigger.
Because it was so far out. So someone like that, I posted the video, like commented like that's a helicopter, but like no, like it was so far out into the ocean.
Any like did it look like an orb? Did it look like it was?
Yeah,
a craft?
when I zoomed in on it, it like my camera started getting blurry, and then nothing, like my phone, like the camera app quit. That happened 2 times. Like I was filming it and the camera app quit, and then I finally caught it a little bit, but it's like such bad quality. But I'm so certain of what it was. Like
I posted it in the Jumbotron for anyone.
I live in Jersey. Like all the sightings have been a little bit like an hour north of me. I'm a little bit more south, but I'm right by the beach, and obviously the ocean is mysterious. But I'm certain of what it was. And
did you see it come from the water, or was it like hovering above the water?
It was just hovering above the water, and then it just like it quickly ascended at some point, and then just kind of dipped out and like went way far down the water, like down the coastline, where I couldn't see it anymore.
All right, yeah, you guys know Kevin, right?
I don't know.
Tupa does.
Oh yeah, Kevin's been around.
Yeah, right. So it's like it's not. I don't think he's someone who would just like make something up, and he does have a video. Probably not gonna play the whole thing because I accidentally looped that back thing, but I did want to get some of Paul Vidal here at the end. Had some interesting things to say too, because he's in Jersey and he has some family members that work, I guess, at that one arsenal. Let's see.
So, are you here? Sense because it's so cloudy and foggy out right now that I still have yet to see another plane tonight. And like it was so bright out in the ocean, like there was no mistaking, and it was so low.
And did you hear any sound?
No sound.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, a helicopter, how far away would you say it was? Like close enough that if it was a helicopter, you probably would have heard it?
No, probably further, honestly. Like it was pretty far out there.
I apologize for that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have heard it.
Fair enough. But you're saying it was largely.
It looked like it could be 5 to 10 miles away is what it looks like.
Yeah. And like how far away those 2 lights are from.
Oh, cool. Kevin, nice. Kevin, are you friends with family? Are they you friends with family? How freaked out are people in New Jersey, in your own opinion, about this?
Sorry, Kevin, that was you talking, right?
Yeah, it was.
Freaking sound. I'm so sorry.
She was asking how freaked out are people. I'll say, as another fellow New Jersey, and this is Paul Vidal talking, people are freaked out. I mentioned earlier, my cousin and my stepbrother both work at Picatinny Arsenal, and they are extremely interested. Like they have at least my family members have no idea what's going on. I've talked to various people in my town who've seen this stuff. Other family members. Like it's how could you not be freaked out? There's freaking drones flying around that the government's not telling us what it is. Like as long as that continues, it's weird not to be freaked out if you're living in the area.
So yeah, pretty interesting testimony from people that we personally know that are out in Jersey. Thought I'd include it. And again, I apologize that I looped that other thing. What do I want to do this? Do you guys have any thoughts on that sighting? Have you guys seen that video yet?
Yeah, I saw that video last night too. I mean, with his story and him talking about it while you're watching it, I think is what makes it super impactful. And then I also think this is kind of like a perfect example of when people try to use an argument, it's like, well, everyone has a camera in their pocket. Everyone's got one. I mean, it still is hard to see what the hell is going on. But when he's giving a testimony and you're able to look to see what this is, the testimony with the video makes it even more impactful. And I think it's fascinating. I mean, to me, I was like, that's something worthwhile to investigate. Like, that's a little bit more compelling to me.
Yeah. And like I said, I know him like not super well, but I know him like well enough, and I don't think he would just like lie.
Well, Ariel Helwani from he used to be like a UFC, ESPN reporter, sports reporter and stuff, follows him. So I was kind of like, oh, well, this guy must be somewhat legit.
All right, we'll just continue along then because there's a fair amount. And if you're watching this from the future and you just want the New Jersey drones, you're probably gonna have to fast forward for a bit. And at first I wasn't going to include this. I know Tim recognizes it because he was on the last one we did with this. But after today, when I heard that congressman say Iran had a mothership, I thought it would be worth covering. Just this little part from one of my documentaries about how basically the coup the CIA did in Guatemala in the was it 50s? And the reason I'm including it here is because one of the things they wanted to do during that time, and you'll see here like how they destabilized that country. Where the hell is it? 2030. Oh shoot. Why do I feel like this isn't the right spot? Oh, sorry guys. This is where the hell is it? I mean, okay, let's just see what they say at 2830 then I guess. It's probably gonna be the right spot. Let's see. I'm sorry.
Its basic godless philosophy, its goal of world conquest, its insidious tactics, and its cunning strategy.
American Cold War propaganda was quite extensive.
Pause this, we can move on a little bit. But basically, the reason I include that, when the CIA did that coup in Guatemala in the 50s, they did all these tactics to destabilize the country, created these like radio stations, and were putting out all this fake media. And one of the things they floated as a destabilization tactic that they ended up not using was fabricating UFO reports and UFO stories. So it goes to show that our intelligence agencies and intelligence agencies around the world have like recognized the value of UFOs and how they could be used. And like, let's be honest, like this whole like drone flap, it might as well be a UFO flap, especially with some of the other statements going on. And people are very well aware of it and they know how to manipulate that. And I think that's worth recognizing. I'm sorry, I don't have the right part of that. Let's try one more time. Let's see what this one. This is another example from history, is the Doty Bennewitz Moore saga. This is in the 1980s. This ufologist was basically filming, ironically enough, early experimental drone test out at Dulce Base in New Mexico, I believe. And basically, the Air Force, instead of having him instead of having him believe that he was filming drones, they fed into his idea that he was filming aliens. So it goes to show, it's another example of intelligence community, the military, like being willing to use UFOs in like for propaganda means that are not necessarily out there in the open. Let's try this one. Let's see if it has that little story together a little bit. I think it has a little bit better. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Community and everything, and cooperating with the intelligence community on the Bennewitz case.
Red cutting in here to tell you guys quickly about Bill Moore, an infamous character in UFO history, and the man who connected Ed Comerick and Mike Jameson. Bill's infamy comes from his willingness to cooperate with intelligence agencies in disseminating known UFO disinformation. Bill Moore came to prominence in the UFO scene by being the first to release a book about Roswell with the release of The Roswell Incident in 1980. According to Moore, this put him on the radar of intelligence agencies. He claims that officials from these agencies offered to share information with him in exchange for cooperation monitoring the UFO community. Moore claims he knew this was a sketch deal, but figured the access he was getting would be valuable to a degree in understanding the UFO cover-up. He felt he could deduce fact from fiction in what the Air Force officers were telling him. Moore was eventually hired by a group of intelligence agents to keep tabs on a UFO researcher named Paul Bennewitz, who had been filming experimental aircraft at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. The Air Force ran a psychological profile and disinformation campaign on the unsuspecting physicist, and in return, Air Force intelligence would let Moore in on classified UFO material. This relationship would be exposed at the 1989 MUFON conference in Las Vegas. In what would be one of the most dramatic things to happen at a UFO conference, Bill Moore would announce his role in the disinformation campaign, and the audience was not happy to learn that one of the most prominent UFO researchers was a disinformation agent.
Of my knowledge, it was all disinformation, and I was the unfortunate one who had unwittingly supplied the fuel to those who were spreading the fire. I've held my silence on this matter for more than 6 years. Now you know the truth. Disinformation.
All right, we could stop it there. But basically, yeah, he helped in this campaign against this civilian researcher. But reason I included this is, again, like I said, that guy Bennewitz, who they did all this stuff to, they fed into his belief that he was seeing UFOs. The government wanted a person who was witnessing actual drone test to think they were seeing aliens, right? And this happened in the 80s. So when you look at that and you look at the thing that I didn't explain as well about Guatemala, there's just a long history of, the powers that be using and misusing, I would say, like the whole UFO thing, which could be happening now. I'm not saying, I don't even know what the hell's happening right now, but I thought this was relevant to
deal with the devil. I mean, and who says this ever stopped?
Right, exactly. Let's continue along here. We got, I included this too. I don't know, dude. I'm just all over the place today with all this news coming up, and I've been like following it super heavily. But thought this would be worth remembering too, right? Let's
say that there is no doubt that Saddam Hussein now has weapons of mass destruction. There is no doubt that he is amassing them to use them against our friends, against our allies, and against us. And there is no doubt that his aggressive regional ambitions will lead him into future confrontations with his neighbors, confrontations that will involve both the weapons that he has today and the ones he will continue to develop with his oil wealth.
Yes, we could start there. That's Vice President Dick Cheney in 2002 saying that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And I don't know, Chipa, you were, I think, I was like in, I was like in like second grade or something when that happened. But you were a little older, right? So like, I feel like they're kind of ramping up the vibes similarly. I feel like, I don't know where they're going with this. Hopefully they don't do something like 9/11, but doesn't it feel kind of like, I don't know. I feel like emotions are kind of getting whipped up towards an action that they want us to all go in on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that too. And there's always a risk of that. Like when you have this kind of like amplification of a message and of a danger, right? You always feel like they're trying to aim the fear in a certain direction for a certain reason. And we have to sit around, after like season 35 of the same thing, right? It's like, okay, we know when the commercial breaks are happening. We know when when you're gonna like the cliffhangers. We know when the cliffhangers are happening. Something is bubbling up here.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't the previous slides we just watched, I wasn't even gonna include them. But when I saw that congressman today say that, and he felt like he was like whistleblowing, he felt like he was doing everyone a solid. And who knows? I feel like he probably thought that, and we'll get to it later. Basically, a congressman from New Jersey, where this is all happening, said that he has it on good authority that an Iranian mothership was responsible for all these highly advanced drones that like our defenses aren't able to like capture or like find out where they come from or anything like that. But he was like pretty confident like that Iran with Chinese help was behind all this. And those are some like pretty big pointing words, right? Like I don't think we've ever been had our airspace like this incursioned on. You know what I mean? So when I heard that, I was like, oh, Lord have mercy, bro. What the hell are they cooking up here? Let's see. I think I got
it's also like part of the that language too. I mean, to say mothership, I think is such a weird sort of, it has two connotations for obviously two groups of people, but it's also such a, it hits a nerve with at least UFO community, right? And isn't that the same word that Lue Elizondo had used for his close encounter of the third kind, lecture slide that he was pushing as like a mothership. Didn't he say that?
He did. And that was interesting too. I did notice that. I was like, oh, mothership's kind of been a word in the mix lately too. I mean, yeah, there is like a drone mothership, right? Which people are like, this is what they're talking about. But in the context of all this like unidentified literal flying objects, right? We don't know exactly. Everyone, we're going to watch all the statements of everyone up the line, FBI, Pentagon, everyone saying we don't know whose they are, what they are. You know, that's technically an unidentified flying object. Yeah, let's watch. I think I got a little bit of Bush here too, and then we're gonna. Okay, so that's and there actually, I apologize. There's a little more primer, but I think it's all kind of worth noting and relating. So this just happened in China, where we're talking about drones. Some people think these might be Chinese drones. I thought this might be worth including. Just they just did a recent like in the past few weeks big world record thing for the biggest drone show ever, and they've been all about flexing these art drones. But you got to think, what are these with the military application? You know, who's drone? What if all these drones we were saying are Chinese drones that are able to out evade us? But let's just get a reminder of the fun side of drones, right? From the fun side of Chinese drones.
About to witness one of the most extraordinary drone shows ever created. In Shenzhen, China, 7,598 drones lit up the night sky, setting a Guinness World Records title in the process.
What these drones are. I lean for an adversary, but even today the Pentagon was like, no, they're not. I'm not saying it's China for sure by any means, but we have congressmen saying it basically. So it is worth noting. And I guess if you were to run with that hypothesis, it is interesting that like this whole kind of thing kicked off right around the time they did this little flex of like, we got the drone world record, and then we have this like weird drone invasion at the same time. Kind of weird. We're gonna power through. If you guys want anything to say, just chime in. But
well, there's also
yeah.
like this difference between like these drones here, right? The idea of a quadcopter, right, of following computer orders or surveying something, and then there's this other type of drone that has like wings, fixed wings, and you know what I mean? Like there's this other classification. These guys can get much larger, and so I feel like there's like there's an oversimplification of the term.
Yeah. Have you seen that one video of it's like a Chinese company where it's like a huge flying drone that is inside of a van vehicle, like electric vehicle, and you like pull up and then it pops up the hatch and then all of a sudden this drone pops out of the back and then all of a sudden you can like fly this drone to somewhere or something like that. So, and people are saying they're, you know, car size and bigger ones too. So it makes, you know, are people pulling around New Jersey and pulling out their drones and flying off?
Yeah, and Edwinster in the chat has a good point. They could project a religious deity over South America in the 70s, according to LA. Yeah, I think they really wanted to do that in Cuba. The poor Cubans, bro, they're in the mix so much. It was one of the promises that they told those poor Cubans. We're gonna do this. We're gonna. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, here's another. Here's just another food for thought on the China thing. Somebody, Jorge said, RBK, you are the one pushing the Chinese drone theory in your last live stream on the backup channel. I don't know. I think it's definitely on the table. I don't know. I just have no idea what to make of anything. But the more information, the better. We'll just
U.S. charges.
Here's just here's a compilation of stuff Chinese nationals have been busted doing in the past couple of years in America.
Is Chinese software engineer Zudong Yao with stealing trade secrets from former American employer. U.S. charges 5 Chinese hackers, 2 accomplices with broad campaign of cyber attacks. 2 U.S. Navy sailors arrested for allegedly spying for China. Engineer arrested for allegedly stealing trade secret technology designed to detect nuclear missile launches and track missiles. Chinese national arrested after allegedly stealing AI trade secrets from Google. New York official charged with taking money, travel, and poultry to aid China. 5 Chinese nationals charged with covering up midnight visit to Michigan military site. Encounters of Chinese nationals surpass all fiscal year 2023 at the southwest border. FBI arrests 2 on charges tied to Chinese outpost in New York City. Chinese nationals charged with operating a secret police station in NYC. Chinese national allegedly bought guns in Texas, shipped them to North Korea. 37,000 Chinese nationals arrested at U.S.-Mexico border in 2023. Chinese nationals arrested in East Texas. $250,000 in gold bars seized after traffic stop. U.S. arrests Chinese man for smuggling guns from Long Beach to North Korea. Chinese citizen arrested after repeatedly trying to get into Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Chinese organized crime's latest U.S. target, gift cards. Chinese national detained after breaking onto Marine Base in California. Chinese nationals arrested for laundering $73 million in pig butchering scam. Chinese University of Michigan students charged after allegedly spying on military base. 2 Chinese nationals charged with illegally attempting to export military satellite components to the PRC. Chinese national sentenced to 6 months for espionage involving Navy ships in Newport News. A Chinese national's drone had aerial photos of a shipyard that builds nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers. Chinese national pleads guilty to espionage, used drone to spy on Navy ships being built. Chinese nationals posing as tourists have accessed U.S. military bases and other sensitive sites. Chinese nationals keep accidentally turning up at U.S. military bases. Suspected Chinese spies disguised as tourists tried to infiltrate Alaskan military bases. U.S. Navy bases are ejecting.
So yeah, Chinese nationals have been up to a lot of stuff lately. If you saw, there was some drone stuff in there, and there was some military-based stuff there, and that's one of the things we see here is and people say either that's it's American tech or that makes it clear it's us. But in the UK, in Langley Air Force Base, and even in this current New Jersey one, there seems to be a emphasis maybe, or just more reporting that they're looking at like military bases, right? It seems like they're, whatever these things are, whatever the powers that be that are behind them want us to believe they are trying to project that thing. And real quick, just kind of like along this point, this was yesterday, and this is a point on both ends, right? This just happened. A Chinese national was arrested for using a drone to do it. But, people will say like, oh, that's proof that it's the Chinese. But you could also say that it's proof that, like, look at how quick they're able to apprehend when it's actually a Chinese dude. Like, just listen to this.
National living in Brentwood was arrested at San Francisco International Airport, accused of flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force Base. The 39-year-old man, identified as Yin Piao Zhou, was apprehended before boarding a flight to China. Base security detected the drone on November 30th, flying at high altitude for nearly an hour. Investigators found aerial photographs of the base on the drone. If convicted, Joe faces up to 4 years in prison.
2 people.
So right, they're perfectly capable of capturing, Chinese drones technically in this situation, right? I guess we're all going to pretend like that guy's a lone agent, I guess. But I don't know. I think that's kind of worth noting that, like, in the midst of all this crazy hoopla happening over in Jersey, like, they're totally able to secure military facilities with Chinese people trying to use drones, right? Like, weird.
I mean, it's a huge point, and it's the same thing that Eric was talking about the other night too. It's like you can track and figure out where those are coming from or going, So that blows my mind that all the stuff that they're saying now is where we don't know what they are, we can't figure it out, which cannot be true.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue along here. We're almost to the Jersey
Some
stuff.
serious
But I think this is all connected. So this. There's actually been a few other ones. I didn't include, and I think I even said this in the last one. I probably should have included the spy balloon as one of these things. But last year, December of 2023, so right around the same time, like Tupa said, right? It's always right around the same time. there were these drone incursions over Langley Air Force Base that like we weren't able to handle, basically, kind of similarly to this. But for whatever reason, like this one seems to be more of an issue. They did have like a hearing or two about it, but let's just kind of watch this report. And they're all kind of tied. I don't know if they're tied together or not. I don't want to tie them together if they're not, but they kind of seem like it. But let's just watch it.
New questions now about the nation's national security and who exactly has their eyes on our skies. New reports that mysterious drones are swarming a U.S. military base and did so for 17 days in December of last year. Wow. New reports of something that happened in December that breached our national security? The Pentagon says it's stumped with no idea who is behind it. The incident recalls the Chinese spy balloon. Remember, I said this is kind of reminiscent of that. Remember, it floated all across the country last year. It hovered over some top secret sites for days before the military finally shot it down. Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon. Jennifer, I'm worried about the fact that they didn't know. I mean, I can accept they don't tell us, but they didn't know?
Well, they knew, but they didn't know who was behind it. This was an incredible, well-reported scoop, Harris, from our colleagues at the Wall Street Journal and confirmed to us by Pentagon officials early this morning. In December 2023, U.S. Air Force commanders at Langley Air Force Base in Southern Virginia, home to the F-22 Raptors, noticed over a period of 17 days, dozens of unidentified drones would begin flying over the base shortly after dusk each night. The Air Force, by federal law, was not allowed to shoot these mystery drones out of the sky. The White House reportedly called for national security meetings to discuss how to address drones possibly sent by a foreign adversary. There were concerns about using electronic warfare or jamming systems for fear of interfering with commercial air travel over the holidays. 3 months earlier, mysterious drones were also spotted flying over a sensitive nuclear facility in Nevada. It is not clear whether these incidents were related. Here are some of the police reports from Virginia near Langley Air Force Base. December 6, 10 p.m. Multiple drones have been tracked over Langley Air Force Base, and one was seen descending in the area of Marshall Street or Gosnold's Hope Park. The drone is not a Langley Air Force Base drone. December 7th, 11:07 p.m. Langley is reporting one that's about 25 feet off the ground, possibly landed at Gosnold's Hope. Myself and the other agent will be at 201 Drummond's at the horse pasture in the field, getting a strong signal. Adding to the mystery, on January 5th, a Chinese international student, Fengyang Shi, studying at University of Minnesota, was found trying to fish a drone out of a tree in Newport News, Virginia. Images taken by the drone showed aerial photos of the Huntington Ingalls facility, which builds nuclear submarines for the military and Ford-class aircraft carriers. He was then arrested 13 days later in San Francisco with a one-way ticket back to China. He was given a 6-month sentence. The drone mystery remains unsolved, Harris, but it certainly has the attention of Pentagon brass. Harris?
Well, I would hope so.
But yeah, even in that one too, though, like that guy they caught was kind of a little bit of a cope, because there were some reports of like these things not being able to be intercepted or whatever. They're not being able to truly identify the source of where these things were coming from. What do we got? Oh yeah, and then so right before, this was about a week before the Jersey stuff started kicking off, was this UK stuff, right? So yeah, drone incursions in the UK. Let's just watch this report.
The U.S. Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now. Stephanie Bennett is live in London. So, Stephanie, this is pretty disturbing. What do we know about these drones?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Julie. I mean, the details are still very limited at this time. We do know that the sightings started last week on November 20th, and they have really ranged in size, in style, and also the amount that we've been seeing over that last week or so. Now, a senior British official confirmed to Fox that the UK has deployed about 60 troops, including counter-drone specialists, to help determine who is behind this and to help defend the air bases amid fears its potential coordination coordinated operation. They're describing the incidents as unusual and say this is a serious set of circumstances. Take a look at this map. The bases are spread across England and are all used by U.S. Air Force. Now, the drones have been seen over RAF Fairford, Lakenheath, Mildenhall, and Feltwell. For now, civilian police, supported by the UK Ministry of Defence, have launched an investigation. And so far, we're told there has been no impact to residents or infrastructure, and they have not been identified as hostile. Well, a Ministry of Defense spokesperson said we take threats seriously and maintain robust measures at defense sites, but as of right now, it has not had any significant mission impact. At a Pentagon briefing, Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin asked whether the drones appear to be those of hobbyists or something more sinister and concerning.
Again, it would be, premature to draw any conclusions. We've got to see what these are. I mean, it's entirely possible that it could be hobbyists or something else. We just got to look into it. So.
Yeah, and for now, the U.S. Air Force says the investigation, of course, is still ongoing. And right now, all eyes are on the skies. Julie.
So yeah, about the last week of November, it kicked off in the UK, which is basically the same time as the Jersey stuff, which is pretty interesting. You guys have any thoughts on the UK or the Langley thing before we get into the Jersey stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's still basically just, a week or so after the hearing? Which was
the hearing was November 13th.
Only
The UFO hearing, for people who don't know. Because I feel like people who aren't even... This is a UFO channel. If anybody just stumbled here because of, like... This is kind of like a mainstream UFO happening right now. But yeah, we're talking about the UFO congressional hearing that happened November 13th, about a week before all this. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious too. Are they still happening over Langley or the military base, or in any of these other sites? And then now the New Jersey one can just be used as deflection to cover for any of those other events that are happening.
Exactly. That's another thing too, right? I've thought about that too. Like, it's kind of weird the way it was like, that's happening. Now it's like, nope, Jersey's happening. And it's like, oh, I'm pretty sure stuff. Actually, no, I think I heard Holly, who's one of our friends out there in the UK, who's pretty tuned into all this stuff. I think she said they had like a night of no reports or something recently, but for a while it was pretty hectic and crazy over there. And I'd say even over here a little bit, it's well, I don't know if it's fortunately or not, but it's kind of not in the media as much as you would think. I think, given some of the statements, especially like the airspace around New York being totally unsecure. But in the UK, I think it was even more so that like they didn't. It was not covered in their media, but there was a lot of like local reports of like weird shit, and they did end up calling out even the SAS, which is like British Special Forces, to try and investigate, and it's a pretty big deal. I mean, I don't know, something's weird going on. Something's happening. I don't know. Yeah, all right, let's go. Let's get to Jersey then. I'm gonna play this little banner again. Now we're gonna enter the Jersey part. Yes. About 38 minutes into the show. Sorry, guys.
Drone sightings have been reported above critical infrastructure. He added that their presence appears nefarious in nature.
I don't know who could have possibly done this.
And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their home.
It's kind of unsettling. They're not up for 15 minutes, they're up for hours. Some are very big, probably size of a car.
Mike Walsh says he's seen hundreds of them over the past 2 weeks from his Randolph backyard.
One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed time.
All right.
Work of art there, too. Panda, work of art.
It was a really good edit. Dude, okay, we're into Jersey now.
We're here. And I forgot, I guess someone said that one of the Paulie saw a UFO on the show. I need to totally find and clip that and meme it before Cosmic Jesus does. But let's watch this. So they first kind of started making news. This was one of the earliest reports I could find for local news in the area, November 18th. So right around the same time that the other report said the Langley one was happening. Let's just watch this.
That's what police in New Jersey are trying to figure out. The CBS News Confirm team did verify the social media post, which was taken near Chatham around 8:15 last night.
We need to get the panel's opinion here tonight. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office says the drone activity was also observed by law enforcement members on patrol, and they are monitoring and investigating the situation. Authorities say there's no known threat to public safety. They're urging anybody with information to contact the police. What do you guys think?
Do you think it's some teenager?
Real or imagined?
Backyard?
Yeah.
That's a real deal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's got lots of lights.
I think it's some kids. with,
Lots of lights.
you know,
Yeah. That's
remote control
my
thing.
gut.
Yeah, no
All
doubt.
right. To be continued.
To be continued is right. LOL. To be continued. Yes. A lot's been continued since November 18th, which honestly is only like a month away, or a month, right? Kind of been a lot happening in this month. But yeah, so that's
tons of stuff happening. Dude.
So much weirdness is happening, dude. Yeah, and then people are saying aviation red, green, and strobe light. So do you guys think, does this look different to you or no? Because that's one of the things too, where it's like, I think I said it earlier too, is that there's kind of a phenomenon of like prosaic stuff kind of being thrown in the mix too. It seems like there's just a big old confusion, right? And there does seem to be some pretty anomalous stuff, but there also seems to be some like straight up planes like shown on like the news, you know, like, which is weird.
There's a clear push. Okay, like I love UFOs, right? For everyone listening, I love UFOs. I have made a UFO website. I've been looking at this forever. I'm pro UFO, but I'm also very aware of this organization that's been around since 2017 and before, that's related to something called the Invisible College. Go look that up. And their efforts up until now, even now, have included deception and what I would call viral marketing, right? Viral marketing campaigns. And they, every time one of these stories kinds of pops up, from the spy balloons to whatever, right? Like they're always, they, meaning this organization, and then a ton of little, like, I would say like maybe they're fans, but they're also kind of plants. Like they seem to have their social media accounts that seem to have a relationship behind closed doors with this group, but not up front. And then they'll elevate these stories and they'll inject into these events a bunch of UFO hype. They will take videos that aren't related. They will pump them up. They will claim that these are, you know, like, I just saw it happen earlier today or yesterday. Someone was posting videos from a year ago claiming like, oh, we're shooting down the UFOs in Jersey. Like they're totally taking advantage of whatever is really happening here. And they're boosting it. And this is going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but they are actually, in my opinion, the number one suspects for who's deploying these drones. And like, I don't want to sound crazy, but they're obeying the FAA laws. They are lit up, and they are being blamed by the media on foreign adversaries that neocons want to go bomb and start wars with. So for me, like the number one culprit is this group. I think that these drones are
too
domestic.
many. I think there's too many.
I think that they're domestic. I think that some other people are trying to take the narrative and push it to whatever they want. But these guys, these are lit up. They're lit up and they're just flying around and they're provoking things. They're dying to be seen, and they're showing up over places and getting low to people and freaking them out and flying off. That's a viral marketing campaign, dude. That's not a foreign adversary coming over and being like, we can fly little helicopters.
It does feel like a viral marketing campaign a little bit. And shout out That's a Bad Kitty for the $10 donation. Those drones are sus as like, I think that's the one thing everyone can agree on, right? Is like, whatever the hell's happening here is fucking sus.
It's also bad on the media when they are obviously showing a plane that's flying and they keep saying drone and drone. I mean, to me, that looks bad when there has to be a distinguishing factor here, is that there are some people that are seeing things that are obviously probably not a plane. And then there's other ones that I think people are getting confused. And when you're watching these videos of them actually showing aerial lights, you know, the red and green and the white, that then they look out in the sky and they think, oh my God, is that a drone? Is that a drone? And it's most likely probably a plane. But like the video you showed earlier that's out on the Jersey Shore there, I think that's super fascinating. You know, what is that? What is that being there? What's happening over Langley? What's happening over these nuclear sites that aren't really talked about anymore? And what they're showing are these you know, plane videos. So I think that's pretty deceptive, and that's bad on the media for not really investigating or doing the due diligence.
Well, and then
to have
Mac here has a great point: deliberate obfuscation from the media, all corning, which I think both of you guys are kind of saying. And it's like, is it just the media like being dumb, or is it intentional?
It's a little bit of both. There's assets in these media companies, we know, right? Now, one thing we have to put in context too, and tell me if I'm going too off the mark here, Red, but you know, we are in a position now where the mainstream media is dying. It is, and they know it. And so they're doing all these weird Hail Marys, and the media is mostly leaning what direction, right or left?
The traditional media left these days, I would say.
Yes, hardcore leaning left. And where do these UAP disclosure efforts come from? Are they left or right leaning?
Yeah, but even then, though, it's pretty bipartisan. Like, but yeah, I see what you're saying, though. I do see what you're saying. I kind of with you with the media, and that's kind of why, you know, that.
Well, what has Lue Elizondo been doing? What has Jay Stratton and Lue Elizondo been doing since 2017, or and maybe a little bit before?
What?
Well, supposedly Lue was doing these interviews to create news stories that were then being taken by Jay Stratton to Congress behind closed doors, where he was giving them briefings and then basically saying, like, look, this is real. So
yeah, and Lue Elizondo's the quote-unquote UFO guy from the government whose record is very spotty. And we do have a clip later. Maybe we'll get into him a little bit more later there. But
so they're known for making up their own stories, laundering those stories through fake assets. And fake assets, I mean,
no, they totally are, and I'm
assets,
totally with
right?
you. But you have to, even with your view of this, like, this would be like their biggest like little op yet, because there's definitely a group within the ufology thing that's always running fucking weird little ops. But this would be like the op of all ops for them. If
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that this is the Hail Mary. I think this is it or it's gone. Think about it. Schumer amendment gone, gutted. UAP disclosure fund. Who knows what's going on there?
No, maybe. And, you know, I've said this before, too. Like, I do think there's a team of people, in my opinion, who have a little drone thing going on that they go to media assets before, like, I've heard it from so many people in the UFO field that, like, after I met with so-and-so, I had an experience and I saw a UFO for the first time. Schellenberger had it on Rogan. He told Rogan, right? He's like, I met with, like, Lue Elizondo, and then that night I saw this thing and it made me think, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then he shows Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's like, that's a Chinese lantern, bro.
And
totally embarrassing.
Doesn't that correlate directly with the stories that we've heard from people like Jeremy McGowan, right? Where they do create this like air of mystery and awe, and then they take advantage of it. I know what we're saying here. I know what I'm saying here.
Yeah. Let's move. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Yeah. No, I'm glad you're
and they become the point of reference too. I mean, you know, Elizondo's on Cuomo's thing for News Nation as a former Pentagon official and stuff. You know, so now they're these go-to people, which I that's the problem that I have with it.
Well, yeah, and that's we're gonna keep it moving now though, because we're gonna
over NJ Towns.
Just kind of keep it. We're gonna have a loose slide in a bit too, and we could kind of go deeper on there. But I kind of want to get the timeline of the events in Jersey kind of through before we kind of get into the big discussions. So right after that all kind of starts popping off in Jersey, there's this Bikini Arsenal or whatever it's called, and immediately people are like, is it them? Because it's like the local military base. And they immediately put out a statement saying it wasn't them, so I thought it might as well just be worth playing. So we know early on that like the local military base was absolutely saying these drones weren't them.
Federal and local authorities are investigating multiple.
This is still like late November, I believe.
Drones seen flying over Morris County on Monday night. There is no known threat to public safety, according to a joint statement released by the.
Oh shoot! Look at a great point from Clippy and Jesse Michaels. And yes, there you saw a UFO with Elizondo as well. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's Matt Ford saw a UFO in a similar circumstance and felt inspired to pursue this. So a lot of people, dude, it's very strange.
The Morris County Prosecutor's Office. Authorities didn't say if they know who was operating the drones or why they were overhead. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office, Morris County Sheriff's Office, Morris County Office of Emergency Management, Morris County Municipal Police Departments, along with our federal and state law enforcement partners, are aware of this activity and will continue to coordinate, monitor, and investigate the drone activity, the statement said. This joint statement is being issued in response to rumors about the drone activity spreading on social media. We encourage the public to be mindful that what they read online may not be accurate. Picatinny Arsenal, a military base in Wharton, said the drones are not theirs and they are assisting in the investigation. Picatinny Arsenal authorities are aware of the numerous reports of unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV activity over Morris County and its surrounding areas on Monday evening, the military base said in a statement emailed to NJ Advance Media. We are working with several of our local, state, and federal partner organizations to obtain more information on the reported activity.
All right, let's continue along here. What do we got next?
Hey, Ernie and Candace.
Yeah, so then the reports keep coming in from New Jersey, right? And this was the clip that Ross Coulter retweeted of mine that got 2 million views, my biggest ever tweet. So which I think might be an interesting data point on what you're saying too, but yeah, let's just listen to her. And I think in these next ones, I have it where they have a few of the sorry, I might have been away from the thing. They have a few of the like the plane videos intertwined, because it is a phenomenon that's like kind of worth noting, I think.
The FAA has placed a temporary restriction on drone flights over Picatinny Arsenal and over Trump National Golf Course in Bedminster. When these drones were first spotted 2 weeks ago, the Morris County Prosecutor's Office said that they posed no known threat to public safety. But people want to know, what the heck are they and what are they doing? It's normal to see red and green lights in December, unless they're coming from mysterious drones in the night sky.
It's kind of unsettling. They're not up for 15 minutes. They're up for hours. Some are very big, probably the size of a car.
Mike Walsh says he's seen hundreds of them over the past 2 weeks from his Randolph backyard and has the video to prove it.
They kind of go slow. They come towards you, then they'll change direction a little. They're all going different ways.
The drones have been spotted all over Morris County. Morristown police sent an alert to residents Sunday saying they are aware of drone activity and that if a drone crashes or lands, do not approach or handle it. The FBI's new field office would only say it is working with other law enforcement agencies to figure out what's going on, but at the moment doesn't have enough information to share.
A lot of people want to know what's going on. I think more people are coming around to that, oh, this is going on and maybe it's not good.
Nancy Reed didn't want to show her face on camera, but says she's seen the drones every night since November 18th.
I can see them right out my bedroom window. I can watch them. Last night was about 5:30, so it was earlier. But it's normally anywhere between like 7:30 and 10:30, they're out here. Never during the day. Nobody ever sees them during the day.
One thing she hasn't seen is the normal air traffic she's used to, and she doesn't understand why.
We're in the fly pattern going to like Morristown Airport and Newark, and we used to see a lot of planes coming back and forth. You don't see them anymore.
So that's interesting. Before we got
Now, we also reached out to Picatinny Arsenal because of reports that the drones were flying over the military base. So far, we have not heard back. Reporting live in Randolph,
all right, let's
New
see. I
Jersey,
think I got
I'm
one
Katie
more
Corrado.
of these ones. This one is kind of interesting
In the
one.
30 minutes we've been here, we've seen up to 7 drones in the sky above us. They're above us right now, just moving back and forth. It's really difficult to show you with our camera, so we have to show you with our phones. North over northwest New Jersey, hovering over Merrill Creek Reservoir and near Martins Creek Power Plant.
We can see them up here tonight, and we're not getting any answers on what they actually are.
So like, is that one a plane? Is this one of the ones that you guys are thinking like, is this a plane, or what do you guys think? What is this? Kind of hard to tell, right?
A lack of answers that has officials in Warren, Hunterdon, Morris, and Somerset counties on alert.
It's really concerning. People have called me and they're scared to go outside. I mean, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Governor Phil Murphy tweeting he called a meeting over the issue, and his administration is monitoring the situation with no known threat to the public.
You initially just think it's people practicing with drones, and then when you saw the amount and how many there are, and coordinated movements, it's really kind of jarring.
We asked the U.S. Army at Picatinny Arsenal about the drones. We were told authorities are aware of the activity, and the military is working with local, state, and federal partners to gather more information. In the meantime, the FBI asks people to document the sightings.
As soon as it gets dark, you can be rest assured that you'll start to see drones in the sky.
Now, if you're seeing these drones, the FBI asks that you report them. You could call 1-800-CALL-FBI, or you could go online at tips.fbi.gov. In Warren County, New Jersey, Michelle Wolf, 69 News.
Shout out 69 News. She commented too. We should try and get her in a space, Tupa. There's a few people in these because I've been clipping all these things on Twitter. There's a few of the people that are like in the thing that have been like commenting, and so it's pretty interesting.
Oh hell yeah! I'm a fan of 69 News. Always have.
Yeah, always have been. A lifelong supporter. All right, well, let's continue along here then. So the next kind of big development, I think, was like the FBI joining the search. And I think this was early December. It's all kind of blended, and I was trying to find the exact dates, but this was early December. So remember, the sightings in Jersey started like November 18th, the last week of November. FBI kind of joins the mix beginning of December, late November. Might have been late November, but
now getting involved in an investigation into these mysterious, apparently small car-sized drones that people are spotting flying over New Jersey in the middle of the night. Look at this. One woman there took the video you're seeing. So that's it. It looks like it's flying pretty low. And from that perspective, it looks very large, right? And all those lights in the sky that you see there, see those lights? Those are apparently drones as well, they say, seeming to fly in a V formation, with the whole saga stressing people out nearby.
We're all completely unnerved. I didn't sleep last night. When I would get up and look out my window at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., they were still hovering. I got up at 5:30 this morning and they were still there. As the sun was starting to rise, they went back in the same direction they came from. And I expect they'll be back as soon as the sun goes down tonight.
Let's bring in Tom Winter. What's up with the mysterious drones, Tom?
Right, Allie. Well, not to go all Scully and Mulder on us here.
Do it.
Law enforcement is concerned about this. They have put out a statement, the local sheriff's office and local prosecutor's office in Morris County. So Morris County, New Jersey, pretty much the kind of the center of where this activity has been occurring, along with Somerset County. So they're about an hour-ish west of here. Don't throw things at your screen. I know that it could be double that amount of time given traffic, but just to give folks a sense of where we are in referring to New York City. As far as the size of them, multiple eyewitnesses have reported, and obviously we've seen the video here. You've just pointed it out.
That's one of the big ones. People were saying like, that's a plane, right? I think this is one of those ones. But then again, we don't really know. And I don't, was there ever a flight tracker for these? Are people too quick to be like, that's a plane without providing a flight tracker data? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it looks like a plane, easily dismissed as a plane, but it is, in my opinion, the way that the lights blink on the wings at the same time, and it does appear to be like small. It looks like a commercial plane, but I don't think it is. I think it's much smaller and much closer to the ground.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? Identifying anything in the sky is hard. Yeah, identifying anything in the sky is hard, or out at sea, distance, like, is pretty, after a certain limit, it just gets pretty hard to do. Yeah. I guess we'll just play this out a little bit more. They might say something.
The size of these, it's not quite clear to law enforcement that they are car-sized at this point, but they do not appear to be kind of the homemade type that would fit on a desk. Whether or not they're the kind that would fit in a garage, well, that's going to be a bigger question. They really want the evidence here, Hallie. They want to be able to get their hands on this or know where they are flying from in an effort to try to figure out, okay, who's doing this, what are they about, and what are they specifically looking at? But officials in New Jersey stress, look, there's no indication at this point that they're a threat to the public. We'd certainly like to know what's going on. And they are encouraging people to call these in.
Why would the FBI be getting involved in this here?
A great question. So the airspace is the FBI's domain. So when the FAA sees something that is a potential violation of federal law as it pertains to the skies, that's a time where the FBI would get involved. And certainly if we're talking about multiple counties, or we're talking about something that could have come from outside of New Jersey, perhaps from Pennsylvania, perhaps from New York State, or the water, they want to have the ability to kind of expand this investigation. And I spoke to them just before speaking with you tonight, and they are looking for people to give them some tips and to kind of coordinate the response to this. Also figure out what are they actually looking at. There are a couple of military sites in the area, but it's not clear yet that that's necessarily the focus of what these drones are about. But they're definitely keeping an eye on the situation. There have been a number of reports of these unidentified aerial phenomena, Hallie, across the country and on the West Coast. So the government is concerned about this.
See, there he used UAP.
Because right now it feels like this is.
He also said something right before there that I was like, that felt like a little dog whistle, I guess, for lack of a better word, towards the whole, like, oh, he said when he said they might expand the search to the water. You know what I mean? Just if it turns out that we're watching just a bunch of what's it called, crisis actors, or you know what I mean, from the future, don't crucify us, please. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. Very interesting, man. Very, very. I don't know what to make of any of this. I think we should just continue. Let's see what we got next. Oh yeah. So next, I got. So, but there is actual like stuff happening, right? So I got a collection of some of the more kind of like interesting, kind of suspicious things that the drones are being reported as of doing. So one of them right there. We'll read the one on the right first. It says, mystery drones flying over New Jersey kept helicopter from taking patient to hospital, college says. And I looked into that a little more, and I think someone got into like a pretty serious accident, and they needed to go to a hospital, and they like literally weren't able to get picked up because of these drones. So it's double when they're on like the whole like, oh, these drones aren't a threat to anyone. Now, mind you, we haven't heard reports that this is happening like super wide scale or anything like that, but it did happen, at least this person. And then here we have some air traffic or radio traffic about the drones. Yeah, let's see.
Attention all southern-based aeromedical units. There are 5 to 7 drones flying at a high level over Hamilton. There are 5 to 7 drones flying at a high level over Hamilton. Use caution in the area. Sure. It's going to be north 3933.09, north 3933.09, west 7438.30, west 7438.30.
So yeah, like
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
so I think that's interesting there. And Green Street had posted something earlier where he was, talking about how if all these drones are flying around, the FAA would be shutting down flight lanes and doing all that kind of stuff. But this to me is interesting too, is that obviously they're reporting something's there. And
also, by the way, fun fact: this is a New York Post article. Since you mentioned Green Street.
Oh, interesting. See, I think, and I like Green Street and stuff. I think that would be something for him to, investigate. Like he should go and, interview those people or follow up, with Patrick Riley and see what more to the story there is.
Yeah. All right. So continuing along with this theme of like, what are the drones actually doing in Jersey that is kind of like sketch, I'd say. Here's some of the locations.
Investigating those mysterious drones flying around New Jersey over the past month. They've been spotted hovering over military facilities, water reservoirs, and even at Trump's Bedminster golf course. But Governor Phil Murphy says there is no known threat to the public. Chris Swecker is a former assistant FBI director, and he joins me now. Chris, how has this been allowed to go on for the better part of a month, especially within that month? Donald Trump won an election. He has a property there at Bedminster, and these drones are apparently flying over that. That seems like a huge violation of everything that the Secret Service says it wants to change. So how is this still allowed to go on?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's perplexing, and I don't understand why. I mean, citizens have been reporting this for quite a while, since November 22nd. So I just hope that the FBI, which is probably the lead agency in this, is actually been working this for quite a while. But that wouldn't explain why the drones just keep on coming. Secret Service, there's an issue there, of course, with the golf course. Whether Trump is there at the time the drones were there would be a significant issue. But I think it's mainly a counterintelligence issue that needs to be resolved. First and foremost, there's an arsenal there, a military arsenal there, where a considerable amount of research takes place on small arms and explosives. It's a very important facility, Army facility. And, we know how aggressive the Chinese have been over the last few years with the balloons. So I'm interested in hearing more about these drones and why they're not doing something to stop it.
I believe I asked you this question months ago when the Chinese spy balloon, like you mentioned, was flying. So I'll ask it again. Is it safe to say that our airspace is, quite frankly, not secure, even though I think the average American always just assumed that the space above them in the air was secure?
I think you're right. It's that assumption that probably causes a lot of people not to report. But I think our airspace is the Wild West. It's supposed to be controlled by the FAA. It's actually illegal for someone to actually shoot down a drone, which is considered an aircraft. So, you can't take matters into your own hands. But I would encourage the public up in New Jersey or anywhere else, when they see a drone that shouldn't be there, or there are several zones that seem to be working together, to report it. It could be a cyber issue as well. They could be hacking from a drone. which if you read up on it, it's either a criminal threat where they're trying to do it for criminal purposes to commit fraud, or they're just generally disrupting things.
So many questions unanswered. We need answers for this because this just can't happen.
Oh, this was a wild thing too, and this is actually
I don't know who.
this is
right
oh
here
shoot,
over Picatinny.
no.
I don't know who could have possibly.
So this is an interesting little development. This is related to the Langley ones, which we covered earlier in this stream, which were the ones that took place over Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, which I believe is the nearest Air Force Base to the Capitol. So it's like the Air Force Base that has the fleet that protects the Capitol, which is kind of significant. But the people who were the FBI agents that were investigating that whole situation, listen to what's being reported in the news.
Done this.
Well, Will, one of the ships was in fact inspected by the Coast Guard and they couldn't find anything. The thing is that there were several other suspicious ships in the region that they never got to. And Will, it gets worse. Just a couple of months earlier, there were several mystery drone flights over our nuclear testing range in Nevada, just north of Las Vegas. And again, nothing was done. And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes as if to say, hey, we know where you are. And so I really think that what this does is it boils down to an administration that doesn't take these threats seriously. You just had on the previous segment a drone attack on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's house. Of course, we've seen with Russia and Ukraine the utility of drones.
Right.
And yet somehow we're preventing our warriors from defending their own bases by saying, oh no, you need to get permission from the Attorney General or from Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. No, that's wrong. Base commanders have an inherent authority within their command to defend their bases.
Well, why wasn't that done, Chuck? That'll be my final question for you. Okay, there's the issue of where these came from. The second, why wasn't anything done?
Well, the fear was there may be some collateral damage that could happen. They also wanted to use some of these advanced teams that they had, these anti-drone teams. There's only 2 of them. Mayorkas has not allowed more to be built. The problem with worrying about collateral damage is that any damage that would happen would be entirely the fault of the People's Republic of China. It's the People's Republic of China that's sending these drones into U.S. airspace, violating our airspace, just like they did with the spy balloon early last year that, as you recall, they never shot down until it got over the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, the whole like not shooting them down thing kind of makes it feel very oppy in my opinion. But I wanted to harp in. I kind of let the clip run along, but this was the interesting thing. Let's see.
Vegas. And again, nothing was done. And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes as if to say, hey, we know where you are. And so I really think that what this...
So what do you guys think of that? This report coming out from retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Chuck DeVore.
Yeah, I want to know more about that. Like,
yeah, we need to follow up on that, right? That was kind of said and kind of left on the table amidst all the other hoopla that's been going on. But I think we need to follow up on that. And yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, are they seeing them at nighttime too, or are they actually seeing them with like their physical eye during the daytime? That was one thing I'm like curious about. What's the size of them? There's a lot more that's not necessarily being addressed with it in that regard. So are they the same thing that people claim that they're seeing over New Jersey? The ones that I find super interesting are obviously the ones that are being reported by pilots, the medvac stuff, the Langley stuff, and then the nuclear base stuff. Like, there's more to that. And obviously it's been happening before this month. So they know something that they're just not telling people.
Yeah. Something's very, very weird. I think we got a few more of just like some of the weirder stuff about these drones, other than the fact that they remain evaded. They still don't know to this day. I think we just heard today that they don't know whose they are, and they're not foreign adversaries, and they're not ours. What does that mean? That's what we got next.
Right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out.
So this is something that we're kind of seeing reported a bunch. And I don't, I'm not a drone pilot. Eric is busy. He's our drone pilot friend. it was covered on the news. Like, again, if we find out that these people are crisis actors and this was all part of some psyop, don't blame me. But yeah, let's see.
I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down, dead battery.
So you got that, and then we got this one too.
Drone does not want to go up with these things around. There's no way the battery's dead. It's fully charged.
It's 0. It won't let me.
What is going on? Okay, these are fully charged batteries. It's 2 batteries that have died within seconds, and the drone went up and like a couple feet off the table, and then came right back down. It's the craziest thing. They will not fly. Like it won't fly. What the fuck? I don't believe in government conspiracies, but listen, there's mystery drones, and people's regular drones will not go up in the air and crash out. What the fuck? Alright, trying again to get the drone up.
No, this one won't even love it.
What? What's it saying?
I think we kind of get the gist of that. And if you remember too, in the first clip we played from Kevin, his sighting, something he noted, he didn't necessarily attribute to it. I don't even know if he can, but he said his camera like didn't work like twice or something like that in his phone when he tried to take a picture or video of the thing. I don't know. Do not know. All right, what do we got next?
Do we have tech on the books that can do stuff like that? Can drain a battery? You know what I mean? I know there's got to be it's got to be an EM like signal that's just being pumped out from these other drones, right? Like,
that's a good idea. We got to pull an OSAP and like everything we're witnessing, how can we best do it to see who's doing it? You know what I mean? It's a good idea.
Exactly.
Okay, what do we got next? Okay, here was another interesting report that happened in all this Jersey stuff.
So residents in Morris County tell me this has been happening every single night with the exception of Thanksgiving over the past few weeks. One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed times. Then they say the clock went back to normal after they drove off. Witnesses also talk about the size of these drones. Some say they can be as big as a small car. Despite the growing concern, though, Morris County officials insist, quote, there continues to be no known threat to public safety. But residents tell Fox they're becoming more worried. The FAA is continuing to temporarily restrict flights over Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster and the Picatinny Arsenal military base. But authorities in Morris County this morning say they have no new information to share as the mystery continues.
Okay, keep us posted. This is bizarre. We need to know more. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade. And I'm Ainsley Earl.
Brian Kilmeade's kind of an interesting last name. All right, so
I would definitely change it.
Yeah, Brian Kilmeade. I'm Tupa Kilmeade. Let's see. Is this gonna play? What?
Rachel Compostucky captured.
Sorry, this is this audio not gonna play? Do I not have this audio? I'm gonna have to do something on see. But let's watch. Here's another
Rachel
interesting
Compostucky
thing.
captured.
This Fox News host who lives in Jersey captured one too. I'll try and fix that other clip. Let's watch that.
For this video of drones, this is in her own backyard, and she joins us now. Rachel, y'all been seeing these. You were saying prayers with your kids, and they look out the window. But that footage was actually captured while I was at the Patriot Awards, and my kids were home, and they saw it, they ran outside, and they captured that video.
So it's been more than once you've seen.
Oh, multiple times. This is all everyone is talking about. If you live in Morristown, Mendham, Summit, Bedminster, that whole Far Hills, that whole area. That's all you talk about. Go to the neighborhood, apps, where, you put in if you lost your dog or your cat. They're all about drone sightings now. Right. And so I think what you're seeing is, first of all, no answers. Whatever the governor put out was a non-answer. It didn't make me feel any better. And I just think we're in this era. You remember when I had my interview with Donald Trump at Bedminster? I'm like, will you declassify JFK? Will you declassify Epstein? Will you declassify the 9/11? And he was like, yes. I think we're in this era where people want more transparency from government, and they are so tired of the lies being told to them by the government. And I think that's what you're seeing right here. People are outraged. 3 weeks, no answer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we were interviewing those mayors, that's what they said. They're not satisfied with just being told, well, you're safe, everything's fine. We want to know why, who's manning these, where are they from? Are they from another country? Because they told us the spy balloon is going through and they allowed it to travel throughout our whole country before they actually took it down.
And then we found out they knew it was traveling over the country, that a Chinese spy balloon was going over our country, and Joe Biden's government was okay with it.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting little tidbit before we move on to the second topic, Ainsley, is people think I know something because Sean is up for the transportation secretary. I'm I don't know anything. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just as curious as everybody else, and I don't feel good. They're flying low. I mean, they're not up high like an airplane. They're flying low. You can see them, and they're large. They're huge. These are not hobby drones.
Very interesting, and I did get that.
Breaking news real quick. Jay, Project Unity, just tweeted this. New Jersey drones update. I'm hearing from multiple sources in the military that the reason why the drones are not being addressed appropriately to the public is because they are U.S. drones, and they are being deployed due to a threat of a biological or nuclear attack.
Very interesting. And Project Unity J, a big part of the community here, tapped into the UFO stuff. Also, is tapped into that little network and all the little weird counter intel dudes that run around this space. Interesting. So he thinks those drones are ours, and there's going to be a nuclear or biological attack. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like we're at the rate things have been going these past few weeks. I feel like we're probably gonna have like 2 more breaking news stories by the time we finish this thing. Yeah, so Homegirl sees it, Fox News girl sees it. Here's Senator Mark Warner, who is like one of the earliest ever UFO advocate people in like 2018, by the way. Getting an interview from Askapol. Shouts out to him. He was always in the hallways getting stuff. And he's also not just a senator for a long time. He sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and so he's has access to a lot of classified stuff, more so than your average congressman or senator. And I think because I think he might even chair it, so he's in the mix for things. So here's when Askapol asked him, like, what the hell's going on here? Let's see.
The Senate Intel Chair not know what's flying over American skies.
I'm gravely concerned about that, and we got to get the answer. And it's obviously not just American skies. You've seen reports now in the UK as well.
Well, no, and what's this report of 60 British forces coming over here to help us solve this? Like, I thought we were the best and the brightest with $1 trillion, near $1 trillion a year budget. Where's all that money going? If we don't know what's in above our skies.
This is hugely concerning, and some of the requirements about how you capture or take down these drones or activities need to be revisited.
Hey, Senator. Yes. So do you have...
The other thing was like as related. But yeah, so the guy who chairs the Senate Intel Committee, kind of early on, saying, I'm gravely concerned. You know what I mean? So weird. Very weird.
It's total bullshit. They know exactly what these are.
Yeah.
I mean, why are they to be? If they knew that submarine that went down to the Titanic had blown up, they have sensors in the water and everything like that. They'd know for sure what is happening in the airspace, and especially along that coastline there. If there's any ships approaching, any sort of things taking off and flying, they know. So why are they being so coy about all of this? It's just bizarre.
It's a really good point. I mean, the idea that we're like that incompetent or that we don't have that kind of security, like I feel like it's because they'd rather people just believe that BS and let it spread than know exactly what's going on, which is that we have deployed drones in the sky for a particular reason. And I'm very curious how this is going to play out, but what I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for is were certain people in the know of what this was the whole time, just like the Chinese spy balloons, and they amplified the UAP UFO narrative in order to kind of piggyback on a very serious threat, knowingly deceiving the UFO enthusiasts and stuff. I don't know. It's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild. But Red, I gotta go. I might be able to pop back in a little bit, but dude, this stream is crazy, and it's been awesome. This is the best breakdown of this stuff you can get. I can't believe how much stuff you've collected here. So I'll pop
Hell
back
yeah,
in when I
bro.
can.
Yeah, hop back in if you can. Have a good one. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue along here. Let's see. What do we got next? Yeah, Tim, if you got to go at any point too, let me know. And you know what? Maybe Esteban wants to hop in. We'll send him the link. We're just going to spam people the link. But yeah, so this is the police chief. This is I'll just hear what he has to say.
Chief, tell me about these sightings, what you're hearing.
Okay.
People who live here.
Yeah, so last night, starting around 8 o'clock, we started receiving multiple calls from residents about drone activity in the area. Officers went out to investigate. The calls and the sightings continued from 8 o'clock to about 11:15 last night, when then the drone activity moved away from us into Cherry Hill. We had varying reports of anywhere between 4 to 8 drones that were flying through the area. They weren't like the normal, drone that somebody would purchase and use in their home. They were large. Some were described as large as like an SUV, had blinking lights on them. We checked the area, we monitored their activity, and up until they left the area. We contacted State Police, Regional Operations Center, to make notification to them of the activity, and also to try to determine, who is operating these drones. At this time, we're still investigating. We have no information of who the drones belong to, what their purpose was. We are looking at possible connections to northern New Jersey that's experiencing the same type of incidents. But we do ask anyone with information about, who's operating these drones, the identity of the drones. They seem to be, larger than, the hobbyist, and due to the number of them as well, would, classify as most likely not a hobbyist that's out doing these.
Chief, we know this has been going on.
So this is the hard part I have with some of this, is how much of it is a bit of a hysteria where people have been seeing, posts online and talking about this. It's nighttime. They start looking up more in the sky now, and they're seeing these things that it's just a low plane that's maybe coming into Newark or taking off or who knows what, but they're reporting it. And then the influx of these reports are coming in. And I mean, why wouldn't the FAA be making a statement about this? I mean, obviously they should be also picking up some sort of object that's in their radar. I know that they pick it up with people that don't get permission, even from drones specifically. So there is some of this that is, how much of it is just reporting, and and how much of it is actually visual or any sort of like tangible aspect of being able to know that these are drones and not just mistaken planes landing or flying. This is what's
It's
hard.
definitely, trust me, Rose, but it's like at such a scale, right? It seems, I don't think they have this many people in the op. Maybe they do though. But we got a special guest. Estimate of the situation. Oh, let me see. You got to echo. I don't know if you want to maybe mess around with things, but I'm glad you're here, bro. Maybe you have to put headphones in your microphone or something, and then we're gonna let's see. Let's play a little more of this, and then the next clip I think ties in exactly to what you were talking about, Tim. I don't know if you saw the sad state of our drones. I feel like as they send up not the same police station, but there's some bad photos taken from a.
When you heard reports here in Egypt.
I mean, there's definitely concern. I mean, if we do get reports of drone activity, but they're usually like, ones you purchase, operate. Last night was interesting just because of the wind that was present. One of those small, hobbyist drones wouldn't be able to fly. These larger, I guess, professional drone activity that was out there gave greater concern, especially in their ability to navigate the weather.
Any idea who is behind it and what the point of it is? What are they doing?
We don't know. I mean, they were operating throughout the township last night, and then moved into Cherry Hill, ultimately heading towards Philadelphia. No, we don't know. I mean, they have to be landing somewhere. They're very large, I know we're working with the state police and ultimately with federal authorities to try to figure that out.
And last one for me, how about the other chiefs in South Jersey? Because I saw I'm in all these different community forums, and everyone's talking about this in different towns. Are you working with the chiefs across the region?
We are, yeah. We're working with. I know Mount Laurel received complaints last night. Cherry Hill received complaints last night, and Medford Township received complaints last night. From what I understand, though, complaints and sightings occurred as far as Ocean County. So.
Yeah, I saw something online about exit 135.
Esteban, you want to try again? Or you let's see if you're all let's see. Test, hello?
Test.
I hear echo. Cool.
Test 1 2 3 1 2 3.
Hell yeah. How's it going? So you just got here. You actually live in New York, right?
Yeah, I just got back from work, and I got to say the conversation surrounding this it's definitely been amplified since yesterday. I think yesterday and the day before, no one was really taking this seriously, at least outside of Twitter. Now it's kind of a topic of conversation, and I expect that to be even worse tomorrow.
Yeah. And the thing I've been thinking about this whole time is like, dude, this is the airspace where like 9/11 happened, yo. Like this is like
I know.
of all the airspaces in the country for this to be going down, it's like you guys are really it's gonna be here and we're gonna act this way about it. Didn't we like do so much shit to like protect our airspace after that? You know what I mean? And then this is happening. Like what the hell? But
Yeah,
continue. Yeah.
Here's the weirdest thing about that. Like, has the FAA grounded any flights?
No, have they not, right?
Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. If something is going on, like you would think that they would ground flights. And to me, this just either like this is like some sort of I don't want to say 100% hysteria. Either this is hysteria or this is ours. I cannot see this being anything foreign and them just allowing them to fly around while, commercial airliners also fly in that space. Like that's just a recipe for disaster. Think about the lawsuits. Think about like, why didn't you do that? Where was that? When you were taking the steps to secure the airspace, like this has to be ours. And I mean, I don't want to hijack the conversation, but I do think that if it's ours, they're looking for something. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you see the Project Unity thing that the breaking news Tupa broke?
Yeah. I was floating that theory a couple of days ago, and I'm glad it's gotten more traction because I was seeing a bunch of posts on Reddit. There was one post on Reddit and Facebook that was deleted from, I believe, one of the people that were actually in New Jersey, and that's kind of the theory that was stated. But they also stated that people were leaving the area. Now, I don't know the veracity of that claim. I can't go and confirm it, but if that's true, this is fucking wild.
Yeah, that's a crazy theory because there a lot of the reports you hear are it's like scanning, almost like mathematically. You know what I mean? Like just like going through every little thing just to make sure it's got it. And they are flying low. That's an interesting take that they're looking for something, huh? That's very interesting. Because like another thing too, right, is they have lights, right? We didn't talk about this yet too, but they have lights. It's like they want to be seen, but even then, it's I don't know, man. I think it's still too early to put my to like. And I'm not saying that you did that, but to like go all in on anything, I don't know where the hell this is headed. Very strange, but so yeah, more people are talking about New York, right? And we're actually a great timing because I think we're gonna get to the part where New York comes in the mix pretty soon here. But
yeah. By the way, this is kind of like one of those flaps, that we all talk about or like we kind of read about, right?
Bro,
it's very interesting to see it happen.
100%. Yeah, and that's why I'm glad you're here too. People are already clowning because I did some history in the beginning, but no, it totally reminds me of that, and it feels like a Blue Book era wave, with like the AARO having meetings and stuff, and congressmen and politicians. Let's go to the next one. I'm gonna try and find a clip that might be fun, but let's see.
The Ocean County Sheriff's Office was on drone patrol Saturday night after a rash of unexplained sightings statewide. This is the first time that the Ocean County Sheriff's Office has documented one of these encounters on camera.
Not really sure what it was. Definitely something flying low and fast.
Checked the radar. We didn't see that there was any planes in the area. Yeah. And it was probably moving about 60, 70 miles an hour.
Whatever it is, it's different.
Yeah, it's definitely something, and we're just going to be looking into it a little bit more.
I just love that it's in freaking Jersey, bro. Oh my god.
Quick second.
It's different.
It's different. Oh, you back, Tim? Yeah, how's it going, buddy? That was the thing I was kind of wanting to show you is the like their drone stuff that they're kind of doing to counter it. It does not seem it could be improved. I guess I could already say it. Here's here's the Pentagon December 5th. I think we're kind of
question. You talked about this new classified strategy, and you had talked before about that there were some incursions, particularly down in Virginia over military facilities, and there's been others. Is there anything in the strategy that's more
tactical that allows commanders to do anything, or is this just a broad statement of policy?
Of course, it's got all kinds of good information, but it's classified, so I can't talk about it. No. So really, Lita, again, recognizing that the strategy is classified, we will have an unclassified fact sheet that we'll be providing soon. Really, just kind of looking at how we'll approach this. One is ensuring that the department is prepared to conduct counter unmanned system operations, counter UAS operations. Two is looking at how we respond to incidents that do occur by pulling together subject matter experts and resources. And then third is tracking equipment and counter UAS equipment, UAS as one aspect of drones. So really, again, broad brush. It's kind of looking at this in a comprehensive and cohesive way. Again, I'm not going to go into the specific tactics, techniques, procedures at this point, but it enables the department to approach this in a way, again, that's comprehensive, cohesive, and holistic.
Huh. Very, very interesting.
Real photo.
It's such a non-answer.
They will never give a report. They never even gave a report about the Chinese drone that happened a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, they had this whole big old meeting with like all the senators, and there's that one senator who was like, "Lock your doors tonight." After having that meeting, yeah, we never heard anything from it ever again. And this guy totally, I think I was muting. I keep on like accidentally muting, but Esme, doesn't he remind you of like the Blue Book era guy? And even like the way he's like talking about it, just like, oh wow, I feel like this guy's totally lying to us all the time.
Yeah. Like I said, like it's just like a total non-answer. Like I didn't learn anything from that answer whatsoever about the situation, and it's just like, yeah. And that's another thing too. Like nobody's saying anything. You would think that this would be like number one on the agenda. Like if something was violating our airspace day after day after day, that this would be a topic of discussion. It's just kind of like shrugging it off. Like, yeah, no big deal. We'll figure it out.
I think that the other angle though could be it's ours, or they're like afraid to address it and they don't know how to, and they're just trying to buy as much time as they possibly can. Let's run with the idea that it is China, right? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean we're like low-key gonna have to go to war with China, dude? Or you know what I mean? What if, I don't know, they're doing weird. There's weird stuff going on. They're going over water reservoirs and stuff. What if what if China, and shouts out Disclosure Tonight, I heard them raise this point. What if they're like just seeding like, biological warfare around different spots or something? But then the other thing is, why are the lights on? It's all so weird, right? It's also, I got to ask both of you real quick, what percentage are you guys open to this actually being like an NHI UFO flap?
I mean, really 1% maybe.
1%. I'm like 15 and rising. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say specifically where, I think the ones over the nuclear sites, over the bases and different stuff like that, I always find that to be pretty fascinating, just because we already have like a history of it. But the ones flying over Trump's golf course and stuff, I mean, I don't think that is, unless the aliens want to, get a handicap and they want to learn, how to play. But there's something else to it within that regard.
Yeah, 1% and dropping for me.
1% and dropping for you. Okay, fair. And then real quick, we got a super chat from Telekinetic. Appreciate Red's research and discussing for the people coherently, taking a stand amongst the powers that muddy the waters. Yeah, dude, this is have the waters ever been so muddied in ufology post 2017? This is a very weird little moment in time we're all living with together. All right, let's go. So the next kind of big thing in this, right? It's starting to get more and more traction, more and more posts are coming out about it. It's going like kind of viral. There's the AARO briefing. So for people who might not know, who aren't UFO nerds and are just kind of tuning in from the geopolitics side of things, AARO is the office created by Congress in 2021 or 22, after basically to investigate these kinds of things, to investigate UFO reports. So I guess we'll just watch this. And for people who don't know, they've been kind of contentious. True believers, and some of even the people like Lue Elizondo, who are going to cover a little bit more later. A lot of people kind of like they kind of hate AARO, I would say, within the disclosure movement. So it's it's a weird place it exists in right now. And if you're not really into UFOs, it might be kind of too inside baseball. But we'll just kind of watch this, and then we'll see what the Congress people who attended the meeting said after meeting it. But yeah, so the AARO classified hearing, December 7th is where we are now. So, and the timeline of things.
This classified briefing concludes. We hope to learn more about what happened in it, but we talked to Congressman Burchett before he walked in there. Mike, he says one of the reasons he didn't want to show up is if he learns something new or something he already knows, he's technically not supposed to even talk about it.
Because if these are not little green aliens, who do lawmakers think is responsible for these drones?
Well, Mike, just before he walked in, Congressman Ogles from Tennessee said this could be the work of the U.S. military testing new technology. But Congressman Burchett seemed to have another take. He thinks if the Chinese aren't directly responsible, perhaps they're recruiting hobbyists to fly these things to test the U.S. response, see how the U.S. military and the FBI responds, which apparently is what we're seeing right now. Mike, still a big mystery, but we're going to stay on it.
So we got Eric here in the mix, who's a drone pilot. Eric, I'm glad you can make it. So yeah, so the AARO classified briefing happened on December 7th, which honestly is not even that long ago. Feels like so much has happened. It's not even a week ago. Or actually, no, December 6th is when it should be, sorry. But still, not even a week ago was this classified briefing, right? And this is kind of a big deal. Because it's like, oh, what does the UFO investigation office have to say to this? And then let's listen to what some of the congressmen who attended the meeting had to say after. So here's Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She was at the congressional hearing, both the Grush one that happened last year and the Elizondo one that happened a few weeks ago. She had those shirts ready to go before before the hearing even ended. She had like merch shirts selling on her Twitter account. That was pretty funny. I guess she likes her merch and her branding. Yeah.
It did not come up. We talked about it. Several different UAPs that have been in the press or leaked. Most of those have been explained, and they explained how they came to that conclusion. But there are ones that we discussed that are unexplained, and they have a plan, they say, to disclose and declassify how they came to that conclusion and why there's still objects that are unanswered. You mentioned the shapes. What is it about the shapes? There are certain shapes that are unexplained, that are in the air. I'm in a classified setting, so I will let AARO, I don't want to cross over and disclose classified information, but there are certain shapes consistently that are unexplained, which is fascinating.
So yeah, it's a congressman saying that some of the shapes are unexplained. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
She's amazing at finding her lens, as they say. You know what I'm saying? Like her and that one other former television caster, like they know how to get in front of the media and like sell it. Like the t-shirts are ready at launch. You know what I mean? Like her answers are loaded, ready to go out the gun. You know what I mean? It's impressive. You have to give it to her.
Look at the smile on her. You know what I mean? Does she seem worried at all?
Oh, she didn't flinch.
Yeah.
I don't know. She better watch out for Corbell. I think she's on his naughty list.
Yeah. Speaking of that, where are all the heroes, right? That like all the insiders that have like all this access. Where are they on this subject right now? Like, what are they saying? I haven't heard much, and you would think that these people would have some sort of insight into what's going on. I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, great point. We got next Tim Burchett, the man, the
Tennessee
legend. Here he is after the AARO hearing, what he had to say. It's kind of funny, but also kind of crazy.
Congressman and House Oversight Committee member Tim Burchett joins us now. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. This is a little bit personal to me. My entire neighborhood, everybody in the surrounding cities, seems like it's all anybody's talking about because there are so many sightings. We're going to show you the one outside of my house that my kids captured just on Thursday night. But what are your thoughts on this? What's happening, and why don't we have more information? That's over my house. Yeah.
It's one of three things. It's either individuals, it's either the Chinese, or it's our military, or a combination thereof. Honestly, you don't see a lot of that in Tennessee, where I'm from, because everybody's got a 12-gauge shotgun, man. And I suspect we need to open the season up on drones. But
Real talk, this guy.
I've been briefed on military maneuvers where we know that that the Chinese are doing that. And so it's a real problem. I think we need to, and honestly, they don't respect this country right now because of who's in the White House. I mean, you saw the Chinese balloon; it was able to fly over our secret installations, and even in Tennessee over Oak Ridge, it turned around and went back. We could have dropped it up in the Pacific a long time before it went all the way across the ocean. They dropped it off the coast of Myrtle Beach. So they are actually testing us, I feel like, and we're failing that test. And until Donald Trump gets in the White House, you'll continue to see this. But I would say it will sharply drop when he.
That doesn't make me feel safe that I have to wait till Donald Trump is in office to find out what's flying over, like literally outside my window. We're not even talking like way over my house.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you've got local laws and regulations, and I would suggest you petition your local folks. But FAA is supposed to control the airspace, and they're failing at their job.
Here's what just so you know, everybody in my neighborhood is calling the police station and the sheriff, and then the sheriff says call the FBI, and nobody gets any answers. Here's what the FAA said. They said safely integrating drones into the national airspace system is a key priority for the FAA. We look into all reports of unauthorized drone operations and investigate when appropriate. What? Like, that doesn't tell me anything.
That's gutless, ma'am, and that is the attitude of the federal government. And I suspect our friends at DOJ will make that report. And I hope Congress has the guts to do something about it. But that in lies the problem right there, because what you'll do is, as I stated on my X account, it had over 3 million views. What I said the problem is the congressmen that are in that room. They got to get the guts to do something about it. And if they make the propeller in one guy's district and the battery in the other parts of the district, they're going to say, well, we need to study this for a while. And we don't need to study it, ma'am. It needs to go away.
Interesting. Real quick, I'm going to read the super chats that came in. And then it gets hard to do the live audio. Let me just read these real quick, and then I'll tell you that. Edwin Stur says, Matt having to be alive. Oh, to be unaware again. Good stuff, Red. The timeline to these incursions is crazy. It is. Thank you, Edwin Stur. And then there's one more. Here we go. Bold Gambit says, NHI mimicking human aircraft is entirely preceded. Keel wrote a chapter on it in Playground of the Gods. Also a part of the 80s Black Helicopter Cat mutilation stuff. Yeah, interesting. And then, it's not letting me edit the volume. And Eric, I think you came in a little loud, so maybe if you could turn yourself down on your end. And I don't know, live audio mixing is not fun. So,
how's that sound?
Honestly, the chat, if anyone is sounding too loud or too quiet, just let us know.
I can turn the knob. I'm old school. My plug-ins actually plug in, so it's sitting next to me.
Yeah. So what about where we're at? Okay. So this AARO hearing happens, right? Kind of interesting statements. Burchett said could be that people. He didn't tell people to shoot him, but he said that if these were happening in his district, that people would be shooting them, right? And surprisingly, we haven't really heard anything kind of bad that happened in New Jersey about somebody shooting up at the sky, right? With America and whatnot, you would think it would happen a lot.
Yeah, that is surprising, right? Especially coming from Jersey. Another cool, interesting thing is when COVID was happening, and pretty much any big sort of geopolitical event, there's always leaks on WhatsApp and Telegram that make it through. So if this was happening around the world, especially in governments, inside governments like China or Russia, where they're clamping down on what kind of information can come out, that those leaks always happen on these messaging services, and I have not seen one yet.
Huh. Yeah, that's a good point there too. All right, well, moving along here.
Brett, can I just make a quick public service announcement that I'm glad that some people in the country apparently still know that physics doesn't care about your feelings. So what goes up does tend to actually come down. I was joking earlier too, please don't ever shoot at anything up in the air, because even if it's alien invaders, your odds of killing the alien invaders with your Rough Rider 22 probably 0. But that bullet is definitely coming down. That's almost 100%. So, I mean, people get hurt out here in Vegas all the time from that. They shoot off guns and stuff New Year's and do crazy stuff. And I mean, those bullets land places. So, you're not getting the aliens. You're probably just getting arrested. And it's probably not the right way to take something down anyways, because if it really is the drone that's carrying the super virus, the last place you want to drop that thing is anywhere around you. uncontrolled. You know what I mean? So let it fly on. Really, it's the next neighborhood's problem. So, anyways, sorry. PSA over.
No, that's a great point. Like, yeah, let's see here.
LAPD is asking Los Angelinos not to fire their guns at the visitor spacecraft. You may inadvertently trigger an interstellar war.
No, but yeah, you're right. What goes up must come down, and yeah, we can't have everybody. If everyone was shooting, imagine if everyone was shooting like every night, there'd be so much more chaos added to this mix. Let's continue along here. What we got next? Okay, so next is December 9th. So we're getting closer to today, right? We started November, then in November. The New Jersey mayors write this letter to the governor. Let's listen.
Activity in New Jersey has prompted 20 mayors in Morris County to demand action from Governor Murphy. In a letter to the governor, the mayors say they have deep concern about the recent sightings. They're asking for a full investigation and new measures to stop the drones. The governor's office says it is monitoring the situation with federal and law enforcement partners and that there is no known threat to the public. Meanwhile, the Ocean County Sheriff says it's now getting reports of low-flying drones.
I also have Bergen County. I mean, it's all we're doing is hearing about this stuff, right?
Yeah, so the mayor, a bunch of mayors wrote the governor of New Jersey like a letter like, yo, you're not giving us any information. And then the governor finally, we kind of heard from him finally. Here's him. I think what he said is pretty interesting and worth talking about.
In New Jersey, in Morris County, I don't know how many mayors sent a letter to you this morning asking for a clarification. What can you tell us? What is going on, and why is it taking so long to come up with an explanation?
Yeah, it's a good. I don't blame people for being frustrated. Let me say, most importantly, right up front, we see no evidence, and I say we. This includes Homeland Security, FBI, Secret Service, our state police, authorities at all levels of government. The most important point to say is we don't see any concern for public safety. That's number one. Number two, having said that, it's really frustrating. That we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing. We had last night 49 sightings. I think 20 of them were over 100. Now those include, I think I saw one mistaken a fixed wing aircraft, a plane, a small Piper Cub, for instance, for a drone, or you saw one and that counts, and then I saw the same one and that counts. So we think these are overstated, but it's a non-zero number. I was on with the White House and Homeland Security leadership literally at the very top yesterday, pretty much all day. I'm hoping we'll get answers sooner than later. I would just ask folks to continue to let the FBI or their local law enforcement know when they see something, and we'll continue to do everything we can with our federal partners to get clearer answers.
Why is it so hard to get answers?
These are apparently as I understand it, very sophisticated. The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. And, we're obviously most concerned about sensitive targets and sensitive critical infrastructure. So we've got military assets, we've got utility assets, we've got the president-elect's one of his homes here. This is something we're taking deadly seriously. We've gotten good cooperation out of the feds, but we need more, and that was my plea.
Finally, how much longer do you think?
I don't know, but if we have news, I'll let you know. The minute we know something, I'm not going to hide it under a bushel.
Governor, you have people saying, I saw a drone and it was spraying something, or I saw a drone crash in my yard and set off an alarm when I tried to go near it. There's a lot of fear amongst New Jersey residents. I mean, what is your message?
Well, the message I just gave. But by the way, we're not aware of any nefarious drone that has crashed, or if there is one that's crashed, could someone please call me and let me know where that is? There are a couple of rumored downings for one reason or another. One of them was a toy, the other one was never found. But having our hands on equipment that's on the ground would be helpful, no question about it.
This sounds exactly like 1947. I mean, exactly. Like, I remember reading reports where they were like, yeah, we're not aware of any disc that has crashed in like Louisiana or a couple others that turned out to be hoaxes. But if there are, please let us know. The FBI said the same thing. I mean, this is crazy how almost word for word this is.
This is actually, I think, the first time I might have seen someone nearly fall asleep while talking, saying that they were deadly seriously taking it for serious, real serious, that it's very dangerous, and call the FBI. And then, oh, he's smiling and laughing, but call us if you see one, guys. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? If one lands in your backyard, it's probably your neighbor's balloons.
Yeah, what stuck out to me was that he said he would spent all day basically on the phone yesterday, so the day before this, with the White House and with the Department of Justice, right? So to me, that shows a level of severity to this all. Like, why, if it's all just dumbass hobbyists, but I don't think anyone on the panel thinks, like, why would the White House spend all this time in contact with the governor about it all? And that's kind of the main thing that stuck out to me. And then the other thing is, too, this dichotomy. And I think we have some clips later where the people are pissed about this dichotomy of, like, everything's good, you're safe, but, like, we don't know what these are, whose they are, where they're coming from, or, like, what they're, you know what I mean? Like,
let the dumpster fire memes go. Let them fly, people.
Yeah, I think this is about to become national, right? Like, and this kind of speaks to how, like, X and, like, the legacy media has kind of died in a sense where, like, we're getting a lot of these scoops on X and, like, the legacy media is picking them up. But even in previous flaps, like, the same thing would happen in local newspapers and it would get picked up by, like, the bigger ones. And I'm just starting to see, like, the New York Post just picked it up, like, I don't know, 8 hours ago. And I remember at work, someone was like, yeah, but it's not in New York Post yet or anything like that. 10 minutes later it was. And now they start talking about it. New York Times, unidentified drones light up New Jersey skies. That's like a day ago. Scientific American 2 days ago. NPR 4 hours ago.
estimate,
Guardian,
don't. This might be UFO sacrilege, but is it me, or do you kind of understand the Robertson panel a little more after these past few weeks of, like, I could understand why they would want to, like, kind of squash stuff before it all gets to mass hysteria. Although I do think that was abused.
It's a low information zone. You know what I mean? That's just what happens. But, like, I think that this is about to go, like, this is about to become, like, way bigger in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm really nervous for what it's about to become. And real quick, we got Carlos with the super chat. Estimate the 80s want their leopard print back. You did wear a leopard print when going to meet Richard Dolan.
Listen, Carlos is just mad he can't rock it.
Chick looks hella concerned. Yeah, this governor guy I don't know about, but I mean, I feel like he's doing what he like. What can he do, right? He's probably also shitting bricks, to be honest.
Hey, Max, she's not concerned. She's biting her lips so she doesn't break out laughing. She's like, I just can't hear this again. I had to listen to this in the office all day where he just says, I don't know, and they're flying over. Sorry.
All right. We're going to estimate. Now we're on what? I think I fucked up the days, but we're December 9th. We're basically this week, like a few days ago, is when New York starts getting added to the mix. So I guess we'll just play this. This is your neck of the woods, right?
Who took those cell phone videos lives here along 3rd Avenue in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And she says she saw what she believed to be those drones over by the Verrazano Bridge. She posted those videos online, and now it's gotten the attention of Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who represents this area. And she is among those demanding answers as to what is going on. Diane Atkins says she first heard a roaring noise and then looked out her window in Bay Ridge to see these lights, several in the sky near the Verrazano Bridge. She believes they are all drones.
They started to change from, like, white lights. They started to get, like, more like reddish green blinking lights. There had to be,
oh my God,
in total 10, maybe 12 of these things, and some of them came closer. They went over my building. You could hear the whir of the motor. They seemed pretty large.
Any chance they could be planes?
Absolutely not. Definitely not planes. And there were too many of them. There's no way planes could fly that close together.
Atkins shared her video on X, and Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis reposted, demanding answers from the NYPD, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security. Over the weekend, drones were also spotted over Staten Island, and we've been telling you about numerous sightings over New Jersey, especially in Morris County. On Monday, Pix 11 News asked Governor Phil Murphy for answers about the drones.
We don't see any concern for public safety. That's number one. Number two, having said that, it's really frustrating that we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing.
Last week, the FBI's Newark field office issued this statement to Pix 11 News. We understand the concern, and we are doing all we can to figure out what's going on. We truly don't have much information to provide at the moment.
I was on with the White House and Homeland Security leadership literally at the very top yesterday, pretty much all day. I'm hoping we'll get answers sooner than later. I would just ask folks to continue to let the FBI or their local law enforcement know when they see something?
What's going on in America? Why doesn't our government tell us what's going on in these skies? Is this the military doing active military things? Then let us know.
And the FBI says you can report those drone sightings by calling the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or on their TIPS website, which is tips.fbi.gov. We are live here in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Eileen LaPalmer, Pix 11 News. Back to you.
Cool. I think we got one more of New York stuff, and then Estimate, if you want to riff on the New York stuff a bit more, that'd be kind of cool too.
Did anyone notice that he was wearing two of the same buttons? Sorry. He was like wearing two.
You're coming in kind of hot. Can you turn yours down a little bit too on your end? And for some reason, like it lets me at random times adjust yours, and then sometimes it doesn't. Oh, now it's letting me do it again.
How's that?
Yeah, now I could do it. There we go. Cool.
That guy was wearing two of the same buttons. Like, I just think that guy's kind of a weird character. I was like, what the fuck is that about? And then, can we just talk about her for a second? I mean, were those planes or not?
That's right. The woman who took the.
Well, it could be also copycats, right? Like that happened a lot too. Like people, I know Brooklyn have a sense of humor. It could just be like, wow, like everyone's freaking out over these drones. Let's do our own, little drone incursion. It's hard to tell. It really
because that's kind of like a classic light artifact, right? That like a lot of things would probably make with the
it looks different on the camera there for sure, and then we don't see them close together, but I mean those could definitely be approaching JFK or LaGuardia or who knows.
On Monday.
This one too, and this girl is another one, like the 6ix9ine News lady, because I tweeted and tagged her. She was like commenting on it. She's like, "Thank you."
See, they love this. This is the other thing too, is that it's honestly a dead news cycle after the election now. Like they don't have much of a story with the CEO shooting that happened in New York, and they don't have any huge weather things that they can talk about. But this is like a big sensational thing, and I think, it's something. It's all there's no evidence of it necessarily. It's all just people saying that they saw something specifically, and like this video right here, the one that's like on the screen. I don't know what that is. Like it's hard for me to digest that. See, look at his lapel. Like, why has he got two of the same?
Here's another little interesting bit about that guy.
To
he said people couldn't tell the difference between a Cub Piper,
really
which is a full size, like small, aircraft, like a Cessna type aircraft. I mean, a normal full on plane and whatever else these were. Here's what he said. Oh, we had a couple people and we saw the Piper flying around. He was almost laughing when he said it. Like, yeah, people can't tell the difference. We couldn't either. I mean, this could go on forever.
Yeah, it's very weird messaging out of Jersey and New York. Let's go.
The drone sightings in her district.
Who just a little, I'll say no.
Congresswoman, good to have you with us today. I'm curious what you think about Senator Cory Booker's statement there, where he's.
Is this your Congresswoman, by the way, Estimate? Not to self-dox, but.
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
Says that they pose no known threat. Do we know that? Have you been told that as a member of Congress?
Well, it may be no known threat, but it could still potentially be a threat, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. I've also reached out to FAA, to the Department of Homeland Security, and to the FBI asking for answers, and they are aware of these aircrafts. They're either unmanned aircrafts or drones, and they're still trying to figure out where they're coming from and who's behind them. But following what happened with the Chinese spy balloon, that simply is not enough. We saw how the Biden administration failed to keep our airspace safe. And the fact that a Chinese spy balloon was able to go all across the country without intervention was very problematic, and it was a threat to our national security. And so we demand to know who is behind these aircrafts or drones and what is their intention. And there needs to be restrictions put in place as well.
I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling to figure out why we can't just take one of these out of the sky and investigate it. Do you have an answer for that?
I don't have any answers, and it's because these agencies just simply have not been forthcoming. I'm getting the same response, the cookie cutter response that you're seeing in the newspaper articles relating to this, and it's just not enough. There were restrictions put in place on certain areas, including Bedminster, that these drones could not fly over. And I'm requesting that the same thing happen in my district, because last night a constituent saw one of these drones hovering over the Verrazano Bridge, which connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. And on one side of that, you have the Coast Guard base at Fort Wadsworth. And on the other side of that, we have an Army base in Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And so it is very concerning that they're choosing to fly these things over, as Phil Murphy said, sensitive infrastructure or military installations. And we deserve and demand answers. And we would expect our government agencies to have those answers for elected officials.
100%. I mean, how is it possible? And when you mentioned Bedminster, obviously that's the location of the Trump golf course and club, and they've gone over that area. But so now, are you saying that they're no longer going over that area?
Well, we were told by the FAA that they had put in place flight restrictions above that area and military installation in New Jersey. We're asking for the same to be done in my community, especially over our Coast Guard base, the Verrazano Bridge, as well as the U.S. Army military installation, Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. But at the end of the day, the public deserves answers.
No, wait,
and we need to know what these things are.
I guess the reason I bring that up is if whoever's flying them has the wherewithal to understand that they're not allowed to fly them in these couple of places anymore, and now they're no longer flying them there, obviously, someone has some awareness of where these are coming from or how to get messages to the people. I mean, it's either some sort of hoax, someone, joking around and trying to make everyone talk about this, or it's a foreign government that is doing surveillance. It's we spend a lot of money on defense. It's mind-boggling that we haven't figured this out by now.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
And one of my colleagues reached out to me this morning. It's happening in Pennsylvania as well. And the bottom line is these should be intercepted by our government. There's no excuse for what is happening.
All right.
Wow.
And Pennsylvania too. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's like the real question. Here's the deep meta question. Is it hard to talk out of both sides of your mouth like this at the same time? Have you ever had to do this level of tap dancing around any other subject in your political career to the point where even seasoned political reporters are sitting there like slackjaw at the answers? I mean, I just don't understand it.
Well, it's just I think they just don't know. And what's interesting here, like let's say that was a copycat, right? Or there's a bunch of hoaxes. We're going to see a bunch of that. But how vulnerable are places like the Verrazano Bridge or other parts of New York City that we had no idea were as vulnerable to this or susceptible to something to do with drones? I mean, this is actually kind of scary that like if these are regular drones, if people are being copycats or being pranksters, this is scary because that means they're able to do it. Imagine a more coordinated effort. I'm sorry, that to me, I mean, I lived through 9/11. That's scary.
Were you in New York during that?
Yeah.
Oh, really? How old were you?
I believe I was in 8th grade, so I don't know how old I was, but I remember being in 8th grade, and I remember them giving us a talk at school, and we were actually they let us watch the TV and kind of like let us go home early, and I just remember like the parents it was pretty dark. It was dark, and then you're watching that for like the next like 2 weeks, like the same planes flying to the same buildings over and over and over again, and it does leave you with some kind of like shock, and even if subconsciously, like years after, like I'm just thinking now, how many times do I cross the Brooklyn Bridge or something like that for work? Like, and sometimes you're stuck in traffic, you know what I mean, for like 20 minutes at a time and it stands still. Like you're so vulnerable in those areas. Imagine a bunch of high-speed drones rigged up with either chemicals or explosives or whatever just coming in out of nowhere. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, it is different, right? Because like we don't know what's going on, right? At any point it could really turn south, right? Let's say they really want to. You're like right there, bro. Like if they were to go like be releasing biological stuff, like we loved your comics, bro. But
yeah, bro. Well, I have a deadpan trigger. Like if something happens to me, they all come out for free. So you know what I mean? Whatever.
But yeah, no, and I was saying this earlier too.
Power grid too, I mean, especially power lines are just like starting to take out anything in the grid. I think that's like that's even worse at that point too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just scary. The fact that like, look at how like how slack-jawed everybody is. Like they're just they can't believe that this is happening or this could happen.
No, and again, like I was saying earlier, the whole 9/11 thing, I think one, the fact that it's happening in that same airspace and like hearing you say, like, I already imagined it was kind of like that. It was traumatizing for the whole country, but I'd imagine even especially for New Yorkers and New Jersey, right? Like, couldn't people from Jersey see it and stuff like that? Isn't there a bunch of videos of that? It's just crazy that it's happening there of all places. And I can't help but feel like whoever's behind it is kind of like doing that on purpose to like pick that scab like psychologically. And I'll estimate you would have loved it. Some of the people didn't like that I went back in the history thing, although I didn't find the right clip. I talked about the whole Guatemala coup and how they just flood the information space with all these like kind of weird psychological things to like demoralize or destabilize or blah blah blah. And like it just feels like whoever's behind it knows that like America, like violating American airspace around the Twin Towers where they were is like, you know, that's, you're gonna inflict something extra than if it was like, you know, in Wyoming, right? And I think
100%. Like I get even people like, you know, my coworkers like start talking about it. They're like, you know, we're in a high rise in a studio. Like what? Like no one's happy that this is going on, or the fact that this is even being talked about. And on the topic of the Guatemalan coup, like, you know, like UFOs were considered as one of those.
Yeah. And that's why I brought it up too, because it's like our government and governments around the world have been weaponizing UFOs, UFO flaps, what it does to communication lines, what it does to paranoia. You know, that it's been like, it's not a new thing. Like, right, people are like, oh, 2017. It's like, no, like these are in documents from the 1950s of how we're going to weaponize this to take over a country full of millions of people. Like
Yeah. And imagine like this is like, let's say this is a precursor to something, like hypothetically, right? Hypothetically speaking, you flood all the channels with all this bogus information, then you really kind of, you know, bring the tip of the spear and do whatever you want to do, because like, no one can get to the bottom of anything. Like even the people we were talking to TV, they're like, yeah, I was with the FFA or whoever it was for like the entire day and I couldn't get an answer. Like all these channels are clogged up, and it's just like, this could be a test to see what the bandwidth is. Like, what does it take to really flood that information sphere to the point where you cannot tell fact from fiction, and at that point you kind of have carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're doing. And wait, did you just mention that Obama movie?
No.
The Obama movie, I think, is a great example of like what it would have been like to be in Guatemala during the coup. The one, have you Leave the World Behind? You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen that movie. No.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's basically just like a movie where they just throw all the psyops at once, and like you don't really know what's going on. And I think even at the end of the movie, you're not even sure like, are we at war? Did aliens invade? It's one of those things. But it's like, yeah, this is it's kind of scary, bro. This is what they do to countries before they invade them. You know what I mean? Like, this is what our country has done to other countries before we fuck shit up, you know?
Well, hey, let me throw out a positive vibes scenario here, just since we're kind of going down the doom loop. You know, here's my current best guess, and I could be totally wrong. I have no inside whatever, but I think it's something to do with, Game Tech was in a space, and he mentioned he had got some stuff from whoever, and it was regarding something like mid-September that, you know, maybe there's some type of potential threat assessment. Like, say, somebody got a hot idea after seeing the success of Ukraine and said, hey, there's a huge hole in domain awareness. We're exploiting it now against the Russians. But what if the Russians turned that around or gave that information to the Chinese about what we're doing vis-a-vis that conflict? And maybe there's some kind of real actual fear that some type of similar low-grade drone attack like that could be successful over here, or it may at least be a reasonable thing on the horizon. And the only way you could really test for that is to pull something like this, where you could go out, you could get a bunch of the local drone operators, serve them with national security letters so they can't talk, even if they want to, they go to jail, and then make them just basically fly at the base all day, all night long, just fly at the base, and we'll test every bit of our electronic warfare stuff. We'll spoof GPS, we'll do everything that doesn't bring the things down, because if you bring them down, you're going to at least cause a fire if you don't land on something when these batteries hit the ground. They don't like to do that too many times before they go.
But even that seems weird. But also, and too, I don't know if you were watching the beginning, where just like yesterday they arrested some dude for Chinese national for having a drone over Vandenberg. It was just like a regular commercial one, right?
Well, here's how. Wait, hang on. No, that's a great point, and maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I think that's what I think the problem with running these things this long, and see, the data would be so not valuable. You would never flush out the unknowns enough. Like, is spoofing GPS going to mess with everybody's cars? Now you're going to have massive traffic jams across like huge areas of the state if you start to really roll these kind of EW weapons out, you know, in urban, you know, environments. You're not just testing it on the bombing range, you know. And I think, yeah, man, I think if you really wanted to test that, you would have to make sure it was super secret, and you'd have to let it run for a long time. But the tension you're managing with letting it run is that your adversaries now have this huge window that opens up that they can just walk into the store, buy a thing, and just fly it into your test. And there's no way you could tell the difference, right? So
maybe,
you know.
but also I think these next clips I think add a lot to it, because I think the hearing yesterday, it's like there's all these little like milestones. There's like, okay, this is like in the next level of bullshit or fuckery or whatever we're dealing with. I don't know, like as more of these things pop up, I don't know, like I don't think there's been anything comparable. Let's just watch the next thing. So we're in our timeline, right? All this kind of hoopla starts around Thanksgiving. More and more reports happen. The mayors are pissed. The governor finally talks. The governor talks to the White House. Now it's happening in New York, near Estimate. This lady, Congressman Malakis, is getting in the mix. And then yesterday, this happened. This was the hearing. The Homeland Security Committee held a hearing about drone incursions and whatnot. We're just going to play these through, and then we'll talk about them after. Let me see. I mean, we might go each one, but let's see.
FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
All right, that one kind of this was the one that was kind of everyone was.
Thank you, Chairman. And sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone up here. Like month after month, people come before us, they testify, and you don't get a lot of answers. And it's concerning. It's frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are. You're telling me that a lot of these, Mr. Jones,
so yeah, everyone riff on that one, because that one was kind of wild, right? That was it was just weird to hear. That's the director, or not the director, but a representative from the FBI who's been on this investigation now for a few weeks, saying that they have no idea in front of Congress like who or what these things are. Pretty weird, right? Pretty weird.
At
messaging.
first, he was kind of like, "Good Lord, I didn't want to talk about this." He's like, "I didn't expect to be having to speak about this today." The way he just droned on was so funny. And then for him to
imagine this was scheduled before this all started in November.
He's like, "Really? I wrote five pages on the border and drug cartels coming across, and now I got to talk about all this UFO stuff."
I just want to know what he had to take to get his blood pressure that low where he could sit there and like maintain consciousness just barely and talk. I mean, it was like I thought he might fall asleep. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is torture. This is actual torture.
He took a class with Billy Carson.
Wow. I'm going to play it again real quick, and then estimate you
Arc.
can.
Thank you, Chairman. And, sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone up here. Like month after month, people come before us, they testify, and you don't get a lot of answers. And it's concerning. It's frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are. You're telling me that a lot of these, Mr. Jones,
So, what did you think of that clip?
I mean, obviously this guy here is frustrated, but that answer, it's just, it's almost as if they've been dealing with this for a while, and this is the prepared answer, and they've given this prepared answer to so many people that we probably don't know about, and it's just like, I don't know what to make of that. That's weird.
Well,
He's
also,
just
I
like,
think
"Yep."
they definitely probably know, right? What's up, Tim?
Oh, I was just saying, he's just like, yeah, we don't. It just is so defeating. It's just unreal. I
Yep.
mean, how is there no NORAD or like any sort of? It just blows my mind.
It
that-
does, right? In the airspace where 9/11 happened, and we did all this revamping and all this. Yeah, it's crazy that it's like happening like this. And again, I'm not going to try and act like I know what's going on right now. I think it's like the fog of war is so high right now. Like so many things could be happening. But yeah, it's crazy. It's
Well, I just
crazy.
want to say this guy's affect and the Wilson guy from the FBI's affects are so different. Like it's like they're not even talking to the same people in the same conversation. Like this dude's about ready to come over the table. I mean, he's like, "Yo, what is going on?" Like, don't I mean, he knows that this is like a dance they're doing, right? And the other guy's like, "Nope, didn't see it. Wasn't me." I mean, it was like that song. Did you see the drones? Wasn't me. I mean, were they there? No, wasn't me. What? I mean, just you could tell he's just like the red meter is just turning up in his face. Sorry, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and here's another clip that I didn't include on my little presentation, but I think it's worth showing. I think this is the right one. Let's see.
In New Jersey. What is going on in New Jersey?
I mean, he's straight mean mugging him right there. He's
Sir,
like, "You gonna lie to me like you lied to him?"
In our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
Yeah, so really weird. Let's go back to my little presentation, and we're just gonna play this one again.
Thank you, Chairman. And sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone up here. Like month after month, people come before us, they testify, and you don't get a lot of answers. And it's concerning. It's frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are. You're telling me that a lot of these, Mr. Jones,
I like the other guy next to him too. That's how he's looking at him and the hearing. Let's go. Some interesting statements from a congressman at this hearing too. And again, this was just yesterday, right? This is all. I feel like I'm gonna have to do another one of these on this exact topic probably in a week because every day so much is happening. So,
hey, Red, quick, just for context with the FBI, like there might be some sort of like bad blood when it comes to like unidentified flying objects or anything unidentified in the skies, because they were essentially used by the Air Force to weed out the crazy people from the not so crazy people, and the FBI all along was kind of strung along in this investigation thinking that they were partners with the Air Force, and they felt extremely used and kind of like backed out of the investigation once they found out. So I don't know, maybe this attitude is just kind of like an institutional thing where it's just like, oh, here we go again. And they're like, we're staying out of this one. But, that's all just speculation.
Yeah.
I also want them just to be like more firm. I mean, where's the FAA coming out with this? Or do any of them have any other statement to even solidify, yeah, there are drones? Like, I haven't heard like a for certain thing that they've detected that there are drones, because they just keep denying that they're not foreign adversaries, they're not, a group of people. But I would like to know just like what's the hard detail that they have of these being
That's
drones.
a great point. Dude, that's a great point. There has been no confirmation of drones.
That is a great point. I didn't even think of that point either. Like, yeah, they're running with the word drone, but they're telling us at the same time they don't know who's doing it or what they are. So yeah, how can you even say that? And yeah, this whole interagency thing, like that was the whole 9/11 thing, right? It's like agencies weren't talking to each other, so it's just crazy that it's happening there. And then here's a crazy moment that happened. Trust me, bro. I guess from a congressman. Let's hear it.
Very concerned that we're missing something here. I've raised the issue, as has my colleagues, Maliotakis and others in New Jersey and New York, about these drone sightings. So last night I was on the beach in Island State Park in Ocean County with the sheriff. He has been working it every single night. He's got his own tethered drones chronicling. One of his officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones come in off the ocean right there. So we thought maybe they'll replicate it. They didn't, but we thought it was a possibility. Last night we had a number of other people there, including a commanding officer from the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water, followed right behind them. And I said, what's the rules of engagement? I mean, you do it if you're fighting against a narco trafficker or something. And they said, we don't know. We don't have any. So I did reach out to the commanding officer at the Joint Base, which is also in my district, and talked to him. Had a very good conversation. Colonel Anthony Smith, Joint Base Fort Dix McGuire, the 87th Air Wing, Air Base Wing today. And I said, I know you have the capability. You've put out press releases to identify and bring down drones. Why can't you deploy them at least to the ocean? Bring one of these down, find out who's doing it. They have the capability. They said, we don't have the authority, only within the parameters of our base. Well, there's a national interest here. Our jets fly over the ocean all the time for trading, so that perimeter is larger. So I did write Secretary Lloyd Austin asking that capability that may be sitting in a closet somewhere. I know they use it all the time, but bring it out. And I'm not saying you got to share it with the sheriffs. It'd be nice. Just do it yourself in the interest of the American public. So I would ask if you would echo that request. I mean, DOD's got the capability, and maybe Homeland Security does as well. When we had a Zoom meeting with Secretary Mayorkas, our governor put it together, and I appreciated that. But I asked them, why can't we just track where they go to?
Yeah, so the drones are apparently coming from the sea, not out of the water, but like somewhere in the Atlantic. At least some of them are, and trailing lifeguard vessels. And what did he say? There was 30 of them trailing a lifeguard vessel. And I guess for whatever reason, no one wants to shoot it down, which I guess people could say is op. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're just kind of like stunned right now as a country of like, what do we do?
That's one of the craziest accounts so far, I think. Like, I mean, I don't know if you can misidentify that as a plane, right? Like, or if it's a plane and you misidentify as 30 drones coming out of the water and then following you. Like, that to me doesn't make sense. That's one that like should definitely be followed up on and should be put in the archives.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I'm 50% NHI, bro. This is weird. Or it's just for it to be like a op, and it probably is, honestly. But for it to be like a U.S. op on itself, like they're really going for it with this one. Like they're really going for it with this one. This is crazy.
There's really let me just say, there's really almost no way to not look at this and think there's some either shocking lack of preparedness, or I mean, it's like it's bad. No, the longer it goes, it just gets worse on more levels. So I mean, I don't even know what to make of it either, man. Honestly, I'm struggling to come up with stuff. But I apologize, guys. I have to dip. The barbecue is calling my name outside. It's saying throw some burgers on me. So I will need to do that. It's amazing. Yeah. I'll send them your way, man. I got the drones in the air already, bro. Don't worry about it.
Good, dude. Eric, good job today in that one
yeah.
space as well. You had such a positive attitude, and the way you just kind of had talked to someone, not to be fearful about what's going on. It was just amazing. So I just want to say you did such a great job with that today.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. I just feel like sometimes, like no matter what's, getting stirred up out there, it's never that level to where, like we can all take a step back and just maybe put some of the rational pieces. I mean, we're not going to figure this whole thing out, but clearly something fishy is up, and it's not, foreign nationals at this point. I would say the probabilities would say so. So I appreciate that. And that's a great message to everybody. Just take a breath, wait for Red's upcoming documentary, the great drone flap of 24, front seat, view video from it, anyways. Have a great evening, guys. Cheers.
So one thing I was going to say too with all of this is it almost sounds like he's got there's a confirmation he has from someone at the Air Force Base that is he saying that they are picking these up on radar, but there's not anything they can do about it. Like that's the weird gray area that it seems to be overlapping with all of these. And then the other thing I wanted to point out as well is 9/11 happened during a war game exercise. So one of the biggest issues that was happening with the response was that with that event was they were having a hard time understanding what was actually a hostile plane and hostile vehicle because they were running a war game exercise. So it does make you wonder if something, is going on with here. Does it make it harder for the U.S. military to even respond to what they know are drones, what they know are civilian vehicles, and what they might, not know are aerial threats of some other kind?
Yeah. It's a very messy situation. And he had a good point too, because like I could kind of get it over the cities, right? But over the water, like Coast Guard, I think is like always kind of like with like narcotics and shit like that. They kind of get their elbows dirty a lot. So
yeah, they also have helicopters, I mean,
Yeah.
they send out, so they, to me, I was like, are they also radioing to, some sort of aerial command and saying, do you see these? Are you picking these up? Like, how far, were they, how far out of the water were they? Were these drones like, a couple hundred yards away from them, or was it off in the distance? Like there's more to this. Yesterday when this was posted and you had, clipped it and put it online, I thought this was really one of the more fascinating aspects about everything that's going on, because it breaks it away from the public. And it reminds me of like Leslie King's book too, with the military, and that these are, government officials and stuff that are reporting about these and that record of it, where it's like, I want to know more of these guys' testimonial. These Coast Guard people, it's like, were they above you? How far away would you say that they were? What color lights were they? Like, there's a ton of information that should be gathered from that.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully they're having like more intense briefings, and there's like documents and actual like document briefs that they're giving to people and stuff. But yeah, and then we got one more from the hearing. Let's see.
Regarding what happened in New York and New Jersey, these drones, unmanned aircrafts have also flown over my district. A number of constituents have seen them over a power plant in Brooklyn. They were coming over the Verrazano Bridge. And I will remind everyone or explain to everyone here that Verrazano Bridge connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. And on the Staten Island side, you have Fort Wadsworth, which is a US Coast Guard sector New York base. And then in the Brooklyn side, right on the other side of the Verrazano Bridge, you have Fort Hamilton, which is a US Army installation. And so it is very concerning to me that we have these objects. We're not sure if they're drones or unmanned aircrafts, but they are flying over sensitive infrastructure and facilities. And the fact that we don't know what they are or who's behind them or what they're doing is very concerning to me, particularly in a post-Chinese spy balloon world. Okay, the fact that this administration allowed for a Chinese spy balloon to go across the country over multiple military installations is very concerning, and that we could potentially be having this happen again it's like astounding to me that this is even happening without any type of intervention. You say it's no known threat, but is there still a possibility of there being a threat? At the end of the day, that's what my constituents want to know.
And I can even hear a little bit of her. I'd imagine she's the congresswoman there. Maybe she grew up in the area. Hear a little bit of the trauma I heard in U.S. man, not in a knocking or anything, but like, yeah, living in New York City during 9/11. This is kind of like a weird vibe, bro. I feel for you guys. This is a weird vibe to be in. Like, there's stuff flying over you guys that they're literally saying we don't know, and then we're about to play up here soon. Other congressmen are saying it's freaking Iranian motherships, and this is so. What timeline are we on, guys? What timeline are we on?
An interesting note, though, is if we're talking about timelines where they might have diverged, that spy balloon going across the country is just such a monumental moment moving forward. We didn't even realize. I'm sure some people did at the time, but I mean, like, look how almost everybody's referencing that as a way of like, well, if that can happen, what else can happen? Or, if that happened, why can't this be something similar to, to a foreign adversary doing the same thing or something more nefarious? That Chinese spy balloon fucked people up, and for a good reason. And I think it's definitely like a marker on if there's an NHI like monitoring a timeline somewhere, that's one of those that stand out for sure.
Oh yeah, like look at they just pulled this off, and yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. I guess we'll continue along here. Oh, this is pretty interesting. That I think kind of went underreported in the community.
We are concerned.
It's Mike Johnson, right, Speaker of the House, who estimate aren't the like Lucre people always accusing this guy of being like a big time gatekeeper, right? Because is this the same guy or a different guy? Mike Johnson?
I'm not sure. I think that's the guy. I mean, like if they're saying he's a gatekeeper, make your best judgment there. But I'm
pretty sure this is somebody who the disclosure people accuse of being a gatekeeper.
I think it's the other guy that's like the Ohio rep. His name is like Mike something, right?
I think there's two Mikes. I think they even have like a name.
This is the Speaker of the House, and then the other one is like Mike something. He's like Ohio, where oh fuck, what's that military?
Mike Rogers is the gatekeeper, is what Andy said in the chat.
Yeah.
But okay. I think there's something. I remember there's something with him in UFOs though, or maybe there was something with him. I was like, that's kind of sketchy.
Concerned about drones and all these new technologies and what it might mean for national security and the safety of the American citizens.
Any thought these might be dark programs?
I hope not. I don't believe so. But there's a lot of investigation going on, so we'll find out.
So yeah, Speaker of the House, which is what, like the highest ranking congressperson, probably has a bunch of clearances.
Also, third in line to the presidency, or second in line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what? After vice president, it's him.
Correct.
And there was all that.
Oh wow.
There was all that legislation this year, right? Wasn't there like a bunch of legislation this year of like if everyone in Congress dies, this is what we do. You guys remember that? That was fun. So yeah, let's. I'm gonna play that one again because I think he's got a lot of knowledge. He's on the committees and he's saying he doesn't think it's U.S. black tech, right? So again, no one knows what the hell's going on. We're just trying to get all the statements on the board, and hopefully as time goes on, we'll be able to decipher it better. But yeah,
we are concerned about drones and all these new technologies and what it might mean for national security and the safety of the American citizens.
Any thought these might be dark programs?
I hope not. I don't believe so. But there's a lot of investigation going on, so we'll find out.
Notice how they're slipping into the threat narrative, like every chance they get.
I mean, how is this not a threat, bro? They're either faking a war or they're like, we're about to go to war, in my opinion. Or they're either way, it's like the same shit if they fake it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is a serious trespass that's been happening for like a month now. And look at from when we started the stream, right? Just like a throw off report in New Jersey to like now, like Congress and the FBI being like, we don't know what the fuck this is in front of Congress. Like, you know what I mean? And if that trajectory continues, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. This is a weird.
The hottest Cold War we've been in ever.
Yeah. Like,
the other thing is, if people couldn't have spotted the Chinese balloon with like binoculars or, with their own eyes, I don't think that they would have ever really told us much about that. And I mean, the reason why I say that too is because there was another one that they ended up detecting, right? That was shot over Michigan or, what was it, like Lake Huron or something like that. And there's never been a follow-up of that one. There's never, whatever the one that was like in Alaska either. They never even followed up. They just kind of let that story die. But it's hard for this to happen because it just is continuing on each night. So they have to have it, addressed in some manner. But ultimately, I think they would rather it go away. We'll have some report come out that'll never come out. and then something else will come up with the news cycle, and then they'll just never bring it up again.
Yeah, but also I think this one, well, actually no, because the Chinese spy balloon was pretty. There was some good, like, or not good, but there was a fair amount of political movement in DC around that. But actually, I would say this is different, though, right? Because that was like one balloon that was like slow. This is like hundreds of drones over like hundreds of miles with like hundreds of witnesses saying it's like getting really close to them and like by their windows, and you know what I mean. So I do think this is a little bit of escalation, and I think Espen was kind of alluding to that too. Like, in 50 years, when they look at this whole period, like those events are going to be in relation to each other. I think like viewed as an escalation towards whatever the hell the next thing is going to be after this. Lord have mercy. Let's see. Oh,
Mr. Ellis,
we got to hear from Lue. Let's see what Lue had to say. And mind you, this is all yesterday. And then we got a few more slides left.
Elizondo, it's good to have you again. What's your guess on this? I mean, look, the good news is you see a lot of navigation lights on these things. You see red and greens on a lot of these, which, as you know, are familiar lighting that people put on drones over a certain size. What's your guess as to why there's so many over Jersey all of a sudden?
Well, Chris, surprisingly enough, it's not just over Jersey. Recently, over a few weeks ago, we had a very similar issue over Langley Air Force Base, one of our most sensitive military installations. And frankly, if you look back the last 4 or 5 years, there was actually a very similar occurrence back in Colorado, where for weeks, local and state law enforcement officials were chasing these things in the skies, almost doing a racetrack pattern, and no one seemed to know what the heck was going on. Actually, this is one of the very reasons why I decided to testify before Congress a few weeks ago, because quite frankly, we don't really have control of our U.S. airspace. We don't have awareness of what are in our skies.
Do you believe that the FBI has been looking for a month and doesn't have any answer about what these are when there's so many?
Well, I've worked with the FBI in the past, and they tend to be very, very competent when they're doing investigations. I do believe they have some answers. I don't think they have all the answers yet. What further makes this more complicated, you have an issue where these things are being seen over civilian airspace, so you have jurisdictional issues, right? You have, from a federal perspective, you have FBI leading the law enforcement investigation, but you also have the Department of Defense. You have folks like the US Air Force and Office of Special Investigations. You have DHS and even the FAA. And so all these federal agencies, forget about even the state and local agencies, are trying to work together and try to deconflict what's in the skies. And unfortunately, they just don't seem to have a common operating picture right now of exactly what we're dealing with.
You think they're wrong about the size? Because, it's not easy to find drones of any significant size on the commercial market.
Yeah, so here's the problem, Chris. Great point. We know that commercial drones tend to be a typical size, and they use a certain amount of power, if you will, and have a certain amount of loiter time, a certain amount of range. It typically can be anywhere between 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're lucky. And then you have to have line of sight in order to control these things. If you talk about anything bigger than that, you're really talking about a state-sponsored capability. This isn't a hobbyist. This isn't a drone that someone buys, let's say, from Radio Shack or buys from Amazon. This is something far more complex that can be flown beyond line of sight, i.e. over the horizon, and has a loiter capability in some cases of several hours. And if you're talking about an SUV size or larger potentially drone, this is a problem. Look, the U.S. Navy has been reporting these types of drones, in some cases the size of cars and even bigger, for years now. And this is exactly emphasizing the point why we need to take this topic seriously.
Senator, your problem is going to be that they're going to know and they're not going to want to tell you. And that's why I'm saying you've got an open invitation here to voice your concern.
Well, let me say this, that today I called for a state of emergency, a limited state of emergency to ban all drones from the sky. Now, we've had a state of emergency the night before a snowstorm. So this is clearly more important than a mild snowstorm. And if you ban all of these drones from the sky, I think the public will feel as if the state of New Jersey, and hopefully in conjunction with the federal government, that they're doing something. The fact that there is no ban at this time indicates that there must be a connection to government action or a government agency. Otherwise, I'm convinced they would ban all drones in New Jersey at this time.
That's an interesting take. Something else to the whole dichotomy you were talking about earlier, Espen. I'm curious your take on this. What would the reaction have been like if everything we're seeing right now happened in like 2002? Right? Wouldn't it have been like so different?
Oh man, no, yeah, it'll be way different. I mean, like, if we think this is hysteria, you'd get a lot more anger. You'd get a lot more people just honestly like
People would be like, "What the fuck?" Right? Like people are so passive about it right now.
people would not show up to work. I know for sure some people would just like not send their kids to school. They wouldn't show up for work. They'd be glued to the TV to find out more. Yeah, that is a really good point. Also, like, this is I've never seen Elizondo this animated before. I don't know if that's just my takeaway from this, but like he seems very animated.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point too. Maybe worth bringing up. A few people in the community seem a little activated lately. I'd say Ross Coulthart, and I didn't pull it, but he did post like what 3 fake things so far. I do have this. We could do this though. Let's see.
Let's let them talk. I want to see who makes up fake stories and propagates them so I can catalog like Santa all their names and know if they're naughty or nice so I can find out.
Oh my God.
But I do think, and I actually like Ross, to be clear. But I do think the fact that he posted like 3 fake things in a week kind of shows the level of excited he is. Not excited like he's happy, but like someone has excited him, or like, what's the word? Like activated him, I guess. I think, and that one, oh shoot, I don't, I do kind of have it. Do I have it at the end? Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Where are we at? Boom, boom.
That's a good point though. Like, yeah, and if this doesn't apply to Ross. Ross is, like he's a journalist. He has sources. I'm not going to necessarily go fault him for having people send him things. And, like at the end of the day, he does believe, right? He's a believer. But like, who's the guy that told the congressperson that this is from Iran, right? Who are the people behind the scenes telling other people that?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that because I definitely want to deep dive that hardcore.
There's something weird.
Well, here's for the behind the scenes thing. Ready? I don't know if you saw this tweet from Rich Geldrick. UFO research in the community. I would say for a while he was definitely part of the like disclosure industrial complex, and I think he's starting to wake up to it a little bit. But he said, behind the scenes, we're watching guys with private clearances spread BS UAP narratives to private signal groups full of influencers, while simultaneously having their friends spread their papers on Twitter X. So he's saying that like within the whole space and the UFO space and probably the media space too, right? It doesn't just like these people over the past few years, they're in bed with Sagar on Jetty and like people who aren't like UFO people. You know what I mean? Like he's friends with Cuomo, right? Like the media manipulation does not stop at the UFO podcaster. And not saying that's a good thing or bad thing, but just recognize that. So, if you had Cuomo, Sagar on Jetty, if like you could make a signal group chat with like 20 people, and if you pick the right 20 people, you could make some magic happen. You know what I mean?
I know for a fact that happens. I know a lot of people in those signal chats.
Speak about it. You don't have to name any names, but what do you know about these signal chats?
I know they exist. I know some people who publicly claim that they're not in any signal chats and try to take the high road or lying to you. I know that this definitely does. There's a sphere of influence where like people get information first. And granted, this is not everybody. Like there's groups where people act like they discuss the topic. They're very enthusiastic about it. They share information. 100% that happens. Those are great. But there are like spheres of like spheres of the Twitterverse or the podcaster verse are definitely in signal chats together, planning the next move or sharing the newest piece of information that they got from somebody and it's insider and don't talk about it just yet, but hey, it's coming down the road. Like that 100% happens. And I think that's kind of like an open secret at this point.
Yeah, that's very weird. The one thing I wanted to say too with the Ross Coulthart thing is that he should, he's a journalist, so he should be vetting those things and not just willy-nilly posting them. Or if he is doing that and then he retracts it, he should make a statement about it too. He posted that one video of some orb, that's like coming down and like he was so giddy about it, but you watch it for 10 seconds and you can tell that it's bullshit. So why would he do that?
Well, like I said, I think Ross is a believer. I think his journalism strengths don't lie in analyzing videos, but they're definitely there does seem to be some sort of like sphere of influence that like will drop like little bits of information. And I'm not saying it's all nefarious, it's all for clicks or anything like that, but I just have to question like where these sources come from. And people need to remember, right? Like before people like cast any sort of aspersions, UFOs are an information game. 99% of it is just trading information. So people are trading information with each other for access into some of these groups because they make it seem as if like, they have the next big thing, the next scoop or whatever. And that's totally fine. But people need to realize that like a lot of people, if not many of them, are trading bad information. So like I think a really good exercise one of these days, maybe when all of this goes public somehow, is tracking down the one or two or three sources that are seeding it with bad information.
Yeah, no, I agree too. But I will say this too, though. On the other end, I do definitely think there's bad information, but there also is like something really freaking weird is happening right now, and I think it makes sense that people are getting like anxious, excited. It's fidgety. I've never seen Ross post 3 fake things like that in a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm surprised Richard posted that, by the way. Like that really kind of surprised me. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, and this is somebody who's like probably in those signal chat groups, right? And yeah, those signal chats are probably freaking popping right now. All right, so that was a nice little sidebar there. And then let's go. We've got a few more left, and then we'll be done. Fun times. Thank you, fellas. This was it was an interesting. It was fun. It was definitely fun, but I just feel like the whole vibe is somber. Like this, but I don't know what we're living through yet.
They're tired. They just look so tired of this.
Yeah, this poor lady. So this is our last clip from yesterday, and then we have a few of ones from today. So
this lady's just been getting just.
She's so ready to be
God
done.
rest her soul. The last.
She is ready to get out of there. She's like, thank God.
Drones. There have been repeated drone sightings in the Northeast, especially in New Jersey. These are not small drones, some of them pretty large. They're flying at low altitudes, they're flying in flocks. Has the president been briefed on this situation?
So we are certainly aware, the president is aware. So we're closely tracking the activity and coordinating closely with relevant agency, including DHS and FBI, to continue to investigate these incidents. I don't have anything beyond that to share. Obviously, this is something that DHS and FBI are tracking very, very closely, and so I would have to refer you to them directly, but aware. Keeping an eye out and looking into the incidents that you just mentioned.
Still though, but has the federal government ruled out that these are controlled by foreign entities?
Yeah.
And do you know if they're conducting surveillance over these
So
areas?
I cannot make any kind of predictions or comments about that specifically from here. This is something that DHS is looking at and FBI, so I would have to refer you to them. I don't have anything beyond that. We're tracking this very closely. Obviously, we're all aware of the incidents that have been reported. I'm not going to go into what they could be or could not be from here. That is something that obviously is being looked at as those respective agencies. That I
When
mentioned.
was the president briefed on this?
I don't have a timeline, but he certainly has been made aware of this.
And
his
the New Jersey
understanding.
governor said, it's frustrating that there aren't answers about where these are coming from, that people are very concerned about this. What's the White House message to the people up there who are frustrated that there isn't any information right now?
And obviously, we hear them and we understand that. We are closely tracking this. We are monitoring the incidents that have been put forward and certainly made public. And we have two agencies that I've already mentioned that are looking into this, working closely with folks on the ground, trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't have anything more to share beyond that.
Interesting. I was definitely hella analyzing her body language on that one. And I think what's important to remember too is, remember the governor was like kind of silent for a while until the day after he met with the White House all day on the phone. Right. And so they're trying to act like they don't know, but like, I just find it interesting that the New Jersey governor was silent until he was on that call. I think she definitely knows more than she's saying. Can we all agree there?
Maybe.
Well, I don't know how much she personally does, but the White House as an entity, well, I'll say is what I meant. Yeah.
I'll just say that Carlos, I'm sure, is used to all the answers she just gave throughout. She's given them throughout the year. So Carlos,
He's the one who famously said that right before 2 weeks before Joe Biden, the debate or something, that Joe Biden's in top health, and all of the videos you see of him like being lost in random places and forgetting what he's saying. are deep fakes. And then like 2 weeks later, he had to drop out because of the debate performance. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, these are like when you talking about something like this, like like the White House press, it's just perception management. Like you can't really take it seriously. All it is perception management, and if it's bad news, they try to break it to you as sweetly as possible.
Yeah, this is totally just a professional liar. I mean, White House press secretary, I think, was started during Kennedy's administration as a way to create, some sort of dialogue with like the press and the people. But it's essentially a propaganda outlet. I mean, that they're just trying to create the narrative of whatever the president is trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think what she knows is that they have a narrative that they are trying to keep all of these other officials, the governors, mayors, and everything like that, in some alignment, but not really telling them specifically what they know. Because at that point, then you're letting all of these other public officials that are not part of the federal government in on something. And how do you keep that under wraps without that getting leaked out and, that getting brought out to the press? So it's some weird compartmentalization that they have to keep within the confines of at least their administration.
Oh yeah, and it's still an active thing, right? When like kind of not just active, but I would say getting worse, right? It's kind of getting. Maybe we're just noticing it more, and it's always been like the same consistency, but like it's definitely an active situation still.
Well, the more that it's happening, and then if there's more people being aware of it, that was the point that I was trying to make, earlier, is that the Chinese balloon was, and if it's going across the country, people can look up with binoculars and they can spot it and they can see it, and it's like you can't deny that at that point, and they have to acknowledge it at some point. But in the end, what they really want is it just to be swept away and under the rug. And really, I think what they're hoping with some of this is that it just kind of dies down and they don't have to deal with it anymore. And that as long as the press doesn't continue to ask questions about it, and this administration is out the door in 5 weeks or something, then it becomes Trump's problem, and then they don't have to deal with it either. It's such like a weird, it's so weird how they like kind of view and want to keep it all contained, but it's just
is that what are they just waiting to hopefully that Trump doesn't do it? Or do you think this is all because Trump's about to come in? I mean, I feel like the this lame duck period, I think, definitely plays into it. I don't even know who the hell it is, if it's China, if it's aliens, if it's deep state, but I do think that kind of ties into it all, right? At least that's my read on it. I don't know if y'all think the same.
You missed one. It could be Kent.
Could be Kentos. Yeah, he's a psychic. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And again, like I said too, the governor definitely talked to her all day. So I don't know what she's saying, but she's lied before. All right, let's continue along here. Now we're finally on today. Oh, right. Hour 3. So this is a pretty interesting moment. This is a New Jersey state congressman who went to, I think he says the agency, but some agency that was like looking into it and was supposed to calm everyone down today. And this is what he had to say when he went to the meeting. Let's see.
Here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything. Okay, it was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker to when it landed, they would know, but they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the training, we have the resources, we have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
why?
I don't know. I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time if they didn't know anything? Come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything. But if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped them. But instead, it was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was an attack helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
And they're saying no threat to Americans.
They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing. When I walked in here today, I was actually pretty calm. I was excited to be here to find out a couple things. I thought they'd be like, hey, listen, it's FedEx trying to figure it out. But instead, I got the most ridiculous amateur hour briefing I've ever sat through.
Wow, that's truly upsetting.
Fascinating.
Right? It's all so surreal. This doesn't even feel real, guys. It
That's
feels like
crazy.
weird dream state. That's all. And honestly, probably because I'm super tired because I've been up late clipping all this bullshit. But yeah, what do you guys? Riff on that, both of you, because that was crazy.
Dude, it sounds like there's no effort being made. Like, I think what he proposed there, I mean, the helicopter thing, I don't know. Like, if you're flying a helicopter, you don't know what this thing is capable of. But like, you've got an eyewitness that said they flew over a 6-foot drone. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, you cannot. I don't think you can misidentify a plane while you're in a helicopter.
Should we run that back again? Because there was a few things that were said in there.
That part is insane.
Yeah, and the list that he proposed as like, hey, well, if you get us this, this, and this, we can possibly identify it. This at least shows me that there is a zero effort to find out what these things are going on. I mean, what these things are and what's actually going on, or they're, like they're intentionally kept in the dark. Like it makes no sense.
Yeah. Should I just play the whole thing again, or why don't you, Tim, you riff on it real quick, and then I'll just play the whole thing again, because the first part was really interesting of him just saying like we didn't learn shit, but then that helicopter story like on its own is also very interesting.
Those are the things too that I think are super important that should be investigated in further, because you're so close to it. If you're just hovering above it, you get a better look. There's no photographs of that. No one ever took any images, nothing of that. I mean, I think that's the biggest point that he's talking about here too, as well, is that where's any sort of investigation with this that is, showing something more for the public? And is that being kept from people? Are some of these people, being told not to release more information to the public? I think there's something that isn't adding up here. I just don't get how you can be above an object like that and not come back with any video footage or anything. And why didn't you feel safe? That begs more questions at that point too. I would love to know why those guys didn't feel safe with that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it could like damage the aircraft, right? Like if it was strapped with something, or if I can definitely see why they would feel unsafe. Maybe if you're piloting the aircraft and you have zero information about this 6-foot drone that's underneath you. But what I just can't understand is how there just seems to be, at least on the surface, just zero interest or zero effort in finding out what this is in that meeting. And frankly, I would be pissed off too. I would probably walk out too, because you can hear how frustrated he is. Like, look, give me something. Give us something that we can do or we can take away from this. And he got absolutely nothing. And that's kind of disgraceful, honestly, because, he even threw out the fact that, like, hey, if it's FedEx or something like that, maybe just tell us. Like, these are all misidentified, probably. But they didn't even get that. Like, it's just, that's a joke.
And I think it's either that there's an op going on, or like they know what it is and they're afraid to come out with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's play it again, because this guy was pretty based. I kind of wish, I don't know, at least we got that story, but maybe he could have caught that guy to come out and tell it too, or you know what I mean. But let's see.
All right, so you're here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything. Okay, it was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. But where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard?
See, you can pull off.
Honestly.
Do they have any? Do they have any idea where these drones are?
You could, I mean, like a helicopter, you could be still a distance away and still track that object.
Yeah,
agreed.
Agreed. You're right. I didn't. So is it some freaking weird demon NHI thing that just made the guy have some kind of like primal fear? Because you know what I mean? Like
that's what I want to know. It's like there's more. Give us more information about it. It's like what kind of lights were on it? Were there lights on it? Like was it like a quadcopter kind of thing, or was it more just like a glowing ball of light? It's like there's so many more questions. And why isn't that guy coming out even more? Who did he say it was? It was like some deputy or like sheriff. I can't remember who he said it.
I think we're about to play right now. Let's see. Or did it just? I'm like pretty sure.
If you go back like 10 seconds or something.
Oh, where'd it go? Who knows?
Oh, here you go.
Over.
Oh shit.
No answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of state police said that he had a helicopter of his.
Yeah. Colonel of state police.
Yeah. Interesting.
Flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
My mind, I want to know how long this guy's been a helicopter pilot and if he's ever chased other drones before. Which I'd imagine. I don't know. Do they chase drones? Maybe not. But like, I don't know. It's all so weird, man. Very weird.
Do they have any? Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker when it landed, they would know. But they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the training, we have the resources, we have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
why?
I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time, if they didn't know anything, come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything. But if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped them. But instead, it was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was an attack helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
And they're saying no threat to Americans.
They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing. When I walked in here today, I was actually pretty calm. I was excited to be here to find out a couple things. I thought they'd be like, hey, listen, it's FedEx trying to figure it out. But instead, I got the most ridiculous amateur hour briefing I've ever sat through.
Wow, that's truly upsetting.
This is crazy. I think this is a point. I think it's like what you said earlier, Estimate. It's either a point in that this is all a psyop thing, or a point in the they know exactly what it is and they're like afraid of it to say it. Like, very weird, especially with all the media press this has gotten, kind of, especially in that area. I'm sure it's like everywhere in the local area of actually Jersey. This late in the game, we're a month in, guys, like, to this stuff happening, right? To their investigation, basically, of all this stuff. And it's just very, very crazy, very weird. Any more thoughts on this? And then I got like 4 more.
Yeah, real quick. The New Jersey Republican Senate Republican Caucus. No, sorry, the Senate Republican Caucus released a statement about the drones, and I thought something that was interesting. Well, they started off saying about how like this is just kind of crazy, and they're very frustrated. They're trying to figure out what it is, but they can't. But this, in particular, New Jersey State Police and local law enforcement have done an incredible job with the limited information they have, but their efforts to intervene have been severely hampered by the federal government's jurisdiction over engagement with these aircraft. this restriction, along with the Biden administration's slow roll response, has fueled growing concerns and left residents to speculate the worst case scenario as they await answers. So I think they're calling on for more, very stronger response from the federal government. But the interesting part is that, they claim that New Jersey State Police and local law enforcement are doing what they can with the information they have and with the capability that they have. But ultimately, the jurisdiction falls on the federal government when it comes to terms of engagement, I guess. So that's something to
So
take
it's like,
notice of.
are they saying that the federal or that like the federal government's like actively like tying their hands behind their back throughout this whole thing?
Well, I don't know if they're going that far, but I think what they're saying is that they're doing everything they can, but ultimately it falls on the federal government because of the law. So it's their jurisdiction, and it basically find out what's going on and like how to engage. It doesn't fall on the local, state police or the State Department. So, you could be right in the sense if you look a little deeper into that. I wouldn't necessarily say that just yet, but it seems like they're frustrated and they're limited in their response. And they're calling for a stronger federal response.
Can you DM me that?
Yeah, I'll DM you the link.
Give me that and we'll watch that. We'll read it out here a bit. But okay, a few more left. This whole thing is so crazy. Today, dude, when I saw this next thing today, my heart stopped, bro. I was like, what the hell kind of psyop train are we fucking on right now? The man, the myth, the legend himself. I already forgot his name. But this guy's a New Jersey congressman too, right? So he's not just he's a congressman from the state where this is all going down. We're just gonna play it, and then I'm gonna ask both of you let's just let it run through maybe what you guys thought when you first heard it. But let's just play it.
Focus now. Republican.
And again, this was from today. This is from a few hours ago.
Congressman Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, member of the House Judiciary Committee on the Hill right now. How do you address this at this point?
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off. I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down, whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down. We are not getting the full deal, and the military is on alert with this.
Look, you've given us some pretty dire information just here, and I want to make sure that our viewers are digesting this. Iran has the capability to pull up along our eastern seaboard and launch drones the size of an SUV into the skies of several states, particularly New Jersey, where we know the incoming president has a large home, also in the same county or nearby where some of these drones in New Jersey have been seen. That capability exists. It's possible some of those drones are here. So I have two questions. How are they fueling them? They have to land somewhere. Drones don't fly forever. Why don't they close down the airspace? Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it's the holidays. Shut it down. But if you start shooting things and you don't know how they're fueled, that's going to be mass explosions. This isn't like one spy balloon. Congressman, this is serious.
We've got to bring them down, and we've got to find a way to bring them down. I don't know exactly where they're landing. Obviously, I have some information. And again, this isn't just Jeff Van Drew. Oh, let's get on Harris Faulkner's show and say something outrageous. I'm telling you the straight deal from very high positioned individuals who are telling.
Real quick, I'm going to read the super chat. Shouts out Bold Gamby says, I bet by January 20th, this whole affair is memory hold and never adequately explained. They will label it mass hysteria created by X and TikTok. Oh, they're going to crucify me, you know. And then he also said, extra $2 just to call Jeff Van Drew a moron. Estimate, not to put you on the spot, but, you know, I think we've seen this in our community plenty of times where people get activated by this behind the scenes info and like they feel like, and you know, I'm just okay. Actually, stop. Both of you guys, when you first saw this clip, what did you think? Let's just do that. Walk me through it.
Time stopped. Like I had to like play that again and be like, what? I mean, first of all, the idea that Iranian drones would be off the coast of New York City is fucking terrifying. Like absolutely terrifying. The fact that it's been done for a month, you know, makes me extremely angry, especially, you know, because 9/11 is still somewhat fresh in the back of my mind. But I was just terrified, you know, like that first of all, that this lapse of security could happen in the first place. Two, but once that settled in, I started doubting it a bit. I'm like, could they really? I mean, first of all, they just let Syria collapse like overnight. They didn't really do anything
Right?
about
Yeah.
it.
And then didn't their whole like every attack they try to go to Israel get kind of just like
Yeah,
nullified?
exactly. And
Yeah.
like these are, you know, they look like they're autonomous drones. They look like there's some sort of configuration we've never seen. Maybe they're being funded by China. I've heard that China might have funded, you know, October 7th somewhat, you know, to kind of split up the US's attention because they knew they would have to kind of respond in a certain way. But the fact that like if that is true is so terrifying. But then like let's say it's not. Who is telling him this, right? He says very high level sources. What is a high level source to somebody like this guy? It's got to be somebody from within the military. It's got to be somebody in the military, the Air Force, or where the Navy. Somebody's telling him specifically, like 'cause he's got timestamps. Oh, a month ago, there's a mothership out that came here and it's got drones inside of it, and this is what's happening right now. Someone laid out.
Well,
Yeah.
and to you know, too bad 2% not here, but like, do we know anybody that's been talking about motherships lately? That's in the military. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like he was saying it in conjunction to whatever subcommittee he was on for transportation. Is that you know, people that have to report to him? That it sounded like that's what he was saying. He was getting it through from either like FAA sources or whoever it is within the transportation authority.
I mean, for him to come out and say this though on public television, you know what I mean? This is not something that you do lightly. Like this is either a career-ending moment or it could be a career-defining moment. You know, more so probably career-ending if it's bad information. So like whoever told him this, he trusts and he holds in such high regard. And like, yeah, Panda, you're right, but like I when we see that in our community, it's done like in like unofficial ways. You know what I mean? It's like it's not necessarily official.
I'm saying these people have been talking about motherships recently. I'm not just talking about the picture. Like, you know, Chris Mellon wrote a bunch of articles this year about motherships, right? Drone motherships.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I
right?
didn't even think about
He
that.
did. And let me see. We'll bounce around. We'll bounce around this one, but let's listen to this one real quick. Actually, go. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, Tim. Sorry, I'm so tired.
I mean, what I was going to say was that when I first saw this too, my first reaction was.
And wait, real quick, let me just play it again. Just the juicy part.
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. You know, I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, you know, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology, but let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down. We are not getting the full.
Yeah.
Not only is it Iran, but also they should be shot down. Those are like, yeah. But what did you think?
Oh, I mean, just when he originally had started to talk about it too, my first reaction was like, who is telling him that? I think I'm curious if it was some sort of lobbyist or some sort of, military industrial complex person that was trying to talk to his ear about it and didn't think he was going to go on national television and say all of this. Because in the end, what I really think that they're trying to do is to gear up with some sort of event within Iran. We've been hearing them talk about it too, is that they were making claims that they were trying to assassinate Trump and they had all these plans out and stuff like that, which, in the end, and not to get into too much of a topic either, but it's like Israel finds Iran to be a major threat because Israel wants to expand into, Syria, and they want to expand into Jordan and parts of Egypt and stuff like that. And they want to get rid of Iran for that too. And I think they are trying to use by proxy the United States. And they've been trying to do that for decades. I mean, ever since Saddam Hussein in the 80s and Rumsfeld and all that kind of stuff. So whatever. I feel like he's trying to push a narrative that for some reason now it's Iran by China. And, he's saying that they launched a drone ship, a month ago. I don't even think you could travel from the Persian Gulf to the Atlantic within a month. Like, I think they would have to take so much time to be able to get over here with that. So I find some of that even hard to believe. And just the fact that the US would even allow an Iranian vessel to even get that close without that ever making any news or anything like that is so unbelievable to me. I can't even
I get
agree.
behind that. I 100% agree. Like the more I thought about this, the more unbelievable it sounded. At first, and it's weird because that's not the initial thought. The initial thought was like, "Holy fuck, Iran! Like on our borders!" Like that was my first instinctual response. And maybe it's because I'm from New York City, but like I didn't even stop to think that like, wait a minute, how feasible is this? Like, does this really make sense? It's just weird all around. Again, the high level sources, the qualified people, like something's really off here.
But then also like once you make the flip, because I think I kind of had a similar thing. I was like, holy fuck, they're trying to do this. I thought he was just the first. I thought after him a bunch of people were going to say it, and thank God that didn't happen, right? I thought he was going to be the canary in the coal mine for the new weapons of mass destruction like kind of thing. And then after that settles in, and you're like, okay, thank God no one else has done it. And then luckily we'll show next in a bit here, the Pentagon quickly dismissed it.
Yeah,
well, because there's so much of that too. It's like, okay, well, prove it. If it's off on the side there, they have satellite footage of all of that. They're monitoring that whole area. So it's like, then prove it. And then why would the U.S. be hiding that? From the American public or it just none of it makes sense when you parse it.
Yeah, no, but wait, real quick, what I was going to say because I'm so tired. I'm like forgetting everything. Fuck, did I just forget it again? Oh no. So what Esmond was saying too, it's like you go in on it first, you're like, okay, what the hell's going on? And then you're like, okay, no, this is really weird. But then the third phase of it, I was like, okay, like accepting that like what this motherfucker just said, a congressman from New Jersey, is really weird. But like the fact that he said it is still like a data point in this whole mess, right? And it's a very weird data point. Like again, like just kind of what we're all saying, like, where's this coming from? Do other people think this? Maybe there's some good intel on there. Maybe he's being a hero right now and being a whistleblower on some shit and giving people a little bit of a chance to prep more or think about prepping more than they might not have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and until he tells him to start shooting it down.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I want him. He needs to come out and say who told him that. Like he needs to be held accountable for saying something like that on on public television. That's so irresponsible. If it turns out it's not true, again, the first thought I had was because there was one account of like some of these drones, and this is just like I think one eyewitness account seemed like they were spraying something in the air. So I immediately went to biological weapon, like just in a split second. So for him to come out and do that, and it makes me angry. It really, if this turns out it's not Iran, I'm going to be extremely angry.
And you know what? I was looking at his Twitter page, even since the Pentagon came out, or the State Department came out and had said there's no connection, none of that's true, blah, blah, blah. He hasn't even come out to even address that yet either. And maybe within the next couple of days, he'll be held to that. And maybe Harris Faulkner will have him back on and she can ask him.
I think last time I checked, and you might have just said something, but like, I think he still has his tweet up alleging all this. Like, I don't think he's
that's what I was
retracted it.
saying.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Okay, yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't even come out and even refuted now that the State Department has even, said we have no evidence, that this is even happening. So he hasn't even corrected that. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe Harris Faulkner will have him on tomorrow and he can clarify what he's talking about or who told him that, or maybe she can hold his feet to the fire and, say, why are you stirring up, and telling people to shoot at the air? I mean,
yeah, let's see. I got this meme real quick, but then I'm gonna play it again. I just wanted to throw in the meme real quick. I thought it was funny. Grab the wrong clip. Never mind. I made a funny meme about this today. But yeah, no. So back to the initial point.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off. I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones. It's everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly.
We said, and the last thing we're going to be covering for today of this, there's no way this is stopping now. And I mean, honestly, hopefully it all kind of goes away. That'd probably be best, but maybe not. I think we should actually know exactly what happened here and not just kind of like forget about it. But this was the Pentagon immediately. Dude, imagine their signal chats after Homeboy said that.
Republican from New Jersey was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States. No.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw people saying it, and I kind of was like, "Well, shit." Now that she's saying no, I kind of believe him. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the information flow is so fucked here.
Hey,
Any thoughts on this?
Did you see this article that they are identified as 6 feet long?
The drones?
Yeah, that the drones themselves. So Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia describes the drones as up to 6 feet in diameter and sometimes traveling with their light switched off. And now Times of India just picked that up. So I mean, like, I think we're just at the start of this, honestly.
I really think so too. I think this is about to get crazy, insane. And actually, this wasn't even the big thing. The next thing, I think, the actual last thing I have, but I did want to play my intro to my one documentary. I thought you would enjoy it. Estimate that my one science and UFOs one, because it's just kind of it's a quick cut of the 1966 flap, and we could just watch it and see like, oh, what sounds familiar. But I thought this was the more interesting thing Homegirl said today. Let's see, and it's like right before it too. But so I might let both play. Both see.
Sabrina, can you tell me what the Pentagon is doing to address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey? It's near sensitive installations. The FBI is involved. What is the Pentagon doing?
Sure. So at this time, so aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but, at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
So they're not U.S. military drones, and they're not foreign entity or foreign adversary. What do you guys make of that? From the Pentagon?
I think they're like giving themselves an out. If they really don't know what this is, they're giving themselves an out.
Yeah, well, then she's also saying that, and then she also says, but local law enforcement is investigating it. And then you have all of these local officials and state people that are like, we want the federal government to do something about it. or to at least give us some sort of guidance about what to do about it. So this is the hardest part that I have, is that no one seems to know anything, or no one's willing to admit to say that
Yeah.
they know anything.
And it's, you got to think, guys, like, I'm not trying to be a doomer or anything, or like, but like the entire apparatus of the United States government is unable to identify these things, or they're telling us that because they're afraid to tell us. That's not good. The Pentagon, the FBI, Coast Guard, like these pillars, right, of that are supposed to be our defense, we don't know what that is. They either actually don't know, or they're lying. And either way, it's not good, dude. This is weird. And the fact that I'm just like super tired now too just makes it all feel like a daze. But I feel like I'm in a daze right now. Do you feel like you're in a daze with all this shit? It's weird.
Dude, low key, like, hopefully this is all just harmless, right? This is a little fun if you're a UFO fan, especially if, like, you're a fan of UFO history, but, like, just to be in the middle of one of these flaps, there is a certain level of excitement that comes with it. And I hope to God I don't eat those words, because, like, I hope this all gets resolved and it ends up being...
Well, I don't say in the event that this is a UFO flap, that we're not seeing the beginnings of a war. We're seeing just genuine, like, for whatever reason, whatever the NHIR, they're just interested in this area for a little bit. Luckily, they haven't gone Colaris mode. But I did say some of the things those lifeguard, Coast Guard people were saying kind of reminded me of Colaris coming out of the ocean and shit like that. So hopefully that's not a precursor to what they're going to do next. Here, let me...
Well, that's what I was thinking too, is that anyone out there, that if you're listening, that you are the, assistant colonel general for the New Jersey State Police Department or whatever, come out and talk about specifically what that drone looked like. And then any of those Coast Guard people, it's like, these people should be coming out and telling us, it's like, what are the size of them? How far away were they from you? What did they sound like? I want more information that's coming from those official people than, necessarily someone in their backyard, listening to their U.S. representative telling them to shoot stuff out of the air,
Yeah. Here, Esma, let's watch this real quick. The little intro from my 2 or 3 videos ago, just to kind of compare and contrast. And then we're going to close out here. Thanks, guys. 3.5 hours, man. What a day. Let's see. It's just everyone, because like what Estimate said, like everything since 2017, this is the most thing that feels like a Project Blue Book era flap. We got all the witnesses, like a bunch of witnesses. It's not just like one thing. It's not like the gimbal or Tic Tac where it's like a single event. It's like a continuous wave that's also kind of feeding into hysteria, and there's all this weird mixed messaging. Here's just the intro to one of my documentaries that it's basically a supercut of like the 1966 wave. And yeah, let's see.
In the village of Dexter, received a call from the sheriff's department, stated that an unidentified object had been sighted out off McGinnis Road at Frank Manor Farm.
Well, we got to the Frank Manor Farm, and he met Mr. Manners. He took us around to the side porch, which overlooks the swamp, where Officer Lee and I got out the binoculars and looked down to the swamp. We saw this object down in the swamp.
The object looked like a pair of headlights, except it was spread farther out.
The deputies went off to the east. Officer Lee and I went to the west, searching around. We came to the high ridge. We came up on this high ridge and we played our flashlight down where the object was.
Apparently it's seen your lights, the flashlight, and it went off just like that.
At that point, we heard this sound, this like electronic sound take off, and it sounded like it shot up into the air.
Over the top of the house, sounded like you'd been in a big tunnel and shot a high-powered rifle off there. Singing that bullet at a terrific speed. Real high frequency sound.
Following a wave of UFO reports in Michigan in 1966, Project Blue Book scientific advisor Dr. J. Allen Hynek was called upon to investigate the sightings and calm the public. Dr. Hynek was unable to come up with an explanation for the sightings. With no time to spare, Dr. Hynek would come up with an explanation that would live in infamy.
That I emphasize in conclusion that I cannot prove in a court of law that marsh gas is the full explanation of these sightings. But it does appear to me extremely likely.
The marsh gas explanation angered many in the area.
They were seeing disc-shaped objects, several disc-shaped objects, flying in formations and flying all around the sky. So this explanation makes no sense at all to us.
Dr. Hynek did not talk to me. He did come out to the area, and I guess he inspected it, but he didn't find anything. And he didn't talk to me anymore after that.
The swamp gas, there is swamp gas. I don't know. I've never seen none right in this vicinity. But as far as it going 2,000 feet in the air, and other people have seen it that high, that they just got to come up with something better than that.
Calls for a further inquiry were made by local Congressman J. Edward Roosh.
People want to know what a UFO is, and therefore, any chance that we have to learn, we should take advantage of it. When you tell an American, I can't explain it, he wants to know, why can't you explain it? Why doesn't someone explain it? I want someone to explain it.
And future President and local Congressman Gerald Ford would also speak on the UFOs and call for a congressional inquiry.
House Minority Leader Gerald Ford said this today.
The Congress should investigate the rash of reported sightings of unidentified flying objects in southern Michigan and other parts of the country.
And this is where we'll pick up for this video. After nearly 2 decades of lobbying efforts by Donald Kehoe, NICAP, AARO, and various other civilian UFO groups, the United States of America was finally going to have its first set of congressional UFO hearings. We will cover these first congressional UFO hearings and the subsequent.
We could stop it there, but I know, Estimate, you felt me on that one, right? Like, there's some parallels, bro. Like, like I said, like, since 2017, this is the most, like, blue booky flap, it feels like, of any of them, of anything that's kind of happened.
Yeah, the vernacular is different, but it's almost word for word.
It's word for word, bro. That's like 60, 70 years ago. The congressman, we were denied, they didn't investigate, they didn't talk to us. Like, it's like word for word, bro. It's crazy.
Well, I was also thinking, too, of that New Jersey state rep was, there's that one interview with Gerald Ford where about it, he gets like pretty flippant about it. And I think he even says, he goes, just like, not that flippant answer that they gave us about swamp gas. He was almost as aggressive as that New Jersey state rep was. And I would think it's like, if the internet was around for those guys back in the 60s during that, there'd be more of a conversation that would happen, like that's happening now.
Totally.
Is that we just have the luxury that if people can spread, there's more ability to be able to record and to get the word out, where those guys, I think they did a follow-up interview with one of those guys where he was like, I don't even want people coming. I wish I never even saw it. And I wish they never even, it's like heartbreaking what those guys had gone through. And just for, Hynek.
They were harassed and fucking
going
crazy. Yeah, real bad. And they didn't have the internet as a support system. It's so many parallels, so many echoes. All right, well, I guess with that, let me see. I think that's pretty much it. So any closing thoughts, fellas? Oh shoot. Wait, can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. So yeah, closing thoughts, guys. And I'm probably, I realize that I'm going to make a documentary probably about what we just covered too. So it's a little more concise, but this is fun. I think I'm sure this is going to continue. So I'm definitely down to probably do both, like have a documentary and a stream about this stuff, because it is interesting, man. But let's go Tim, and then we'll go with Estimate, the New Yorker. Any closing thoughts on all this? What are we living through? What is happening right now?
I think hindsight will be the total determining factor of all of this, but I think what people can do in the meantime is just still press for answers and just be mindful about what's going on. If anyone out there, has the ability for like even infrared cameras, or making sure you're checking, flight radar and time stamping everything that you're viewing and seeing, and just double checking and make sure it isn't a plane, and getting any other sort of information you can to try to figure out whatever these are. And if there's people that were part of the Coast Guard, or people that know those people that are part of the Coast Guard, or any of the police forces that are out there, come forward and talk about specifically what are you seeing, and what are some other things that you've heard behind the scenes with all of this? Because the more information we have, the better it is for everyone else.
Yeah.
I agree. Oh, sorry, Red, cut you off.
I was just saying, yeah. So yeah, go for it. Estimate. I was just saying, go whistleblower mode if you're out there. But then again, we get mad at him like we did to this. Maybe that guy is right. Maybe there's an Iranian mothership. Yeah, I had something else for that I was maybe gonna play. Did I delete it? I think. Yeah. So yeah,
if it wasn't an Iranian mothership that was out there, I'll pay for that guy's next spray tan.
Logan Blackman to the show says they sent. I think they sent out a ship out where it allegedly is, right? So they're acting on like there might be. But yeah, estimate. You're the New Yorker. You're technically in the flap, right? You're in it, bro.
I'm in it, but I haven't seen it. But I definitely feel it. I definitely am experiencing, not just myself, but the emotions of my coworkers and people around me. Like whether it's flashbacks to 9/11 or people just generally be like, "What the fuck is going on?" But I think discernment here is key. I think hindsight is gonna be king here. But I just want to make urge that we have so many more tools available to us, the public, than like the people did back in '66 or in the Michigan Flap or the late '40s or anything like that. We have so much more stuff available to us to actually make a contribution. So in case this does end up being absolutely nothing, fine, whatever, we can still contribute and like come to that conclusion, right? Be wary. People telling you it's Iranian motherships, I would say, don't freak out, but also just be mindful of who's telling you what and where that information is coming from, because you can bet your ass this is being used by so many different people, whether it's influencers, politicians, people in the UFO game, whoever. They are taking this, whatever's happening right now, and they're muddying the waters, and not most of them probably not on purpose, but just for their own benefit, right? So discernment, a lot of different tools out there for everybody to use, and just keep your eye on the skies, man. You never know.
Hell yeah. All right, fellas, I'll probably see you in a space or something. Thank you for joining me. I'm really happy to have people that are educated and fun to talk about this stuff with, because dude, like I said, I feel like I'm in a daze, bro. This feels really weird. I feel like this is on some 9/11
It's
energy
not just you,
too.
man. It is very weird.
Very weird. But yeah, thank you, chat. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out here. And go on Twitter. There's probably gonna be some Twitter Spaces, and I already have all the videos. I could probably cook up a really quick documentary. Like I was even watching that intro I did from the other, and I was like, oh, I can make that like right now.
Yeah.
With clips from this presentation, just like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I did one with John's performance, and I put in some drone stuff. Then I deleted it. I was like, I don't know if I like this. But when is your Spielberg documentary coming out?
Bro, dude, that one's it takes forever. And
that's the Iranian mothership right there.
Yeah, right.
Not every week.
There's just this. I was kind of driving around a lot, and then this stuff. Like, and now I'm like, I'm a drone guy now. I'm
waiting for it.
I'm kind of low-key an authority, not really, not an authority. I'm somebody who people can rely on that is clipping all the stuff on Twitter about this.
Well, you've got the best feed on this personally. Like, I think you're pretty quick with like the news clips coming out, and like you don't sensationalize it really. So it's actually kind of cool to like retweet and quote and stuff like that. So
I throw in the memes and some history stuff to kind of lighten it. But yeah, I feel weird, man. Thank you though. Thank you. Yeah, it's I'm pretty tired right now. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, thank you, Logan Black, for the super sticker. Love you, bro. Happy birthday. Yeah, man. Great show. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we're all gonna live, hopefully, 2027. But yeah. All right, man. I'll see you guys on Twitter then.
All right, see ya. Thanks, man.
Bye, everyone.
Later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.